Yeah, so the original roster that we were going to put together was the one that got leaked. Like, we were going to get Fitz and Iris, and honestly, I think that roster would have been pretty good, but at the same time, like, how it ended up, it wasn't that bad. But
Did you live up to that mission statement of having fun all year long? You know, win or
no,
lose.
I was going to say it sounded like the least. It didn't sound too.
it did not. It did not end up too fun at the end.
Minimum salary team. We're here just to have a good time. But I can't think of a single positive moment from the Washington Justice season in terms of people saying I had a good day today.
Okay. I kind of felt bad for Donghyun because I don't know if anyone this has been said or whatever, but Donghyun had to pay for his own visa and flights to come to Washington. But I know earlier on I've had problems with them. I know at one point I got muted by them, and then I had to ask them to unmute me, and then get a little bullied sometimes. And then even we had Ben Best Anna at one point, which that's a complete other thing.
Let's talk about that. It's so
let's get there.
What's the juice? Is there juice?
Okay. Am I good to announce my biggest mistake of all time?
Oh, please do.
Okay,
100%.
so
this is the place to do it.
My biggest mistake of all time in Overwatch League is.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 14 of Uncoachable. Now, those of you who watched last week will know I'm an avid quick play enjoyer, but over the weekend, some of the games didn't go so well. Some people started calling me slurs. I was making mistakes. But luckily, Chris and Hunter have always got my back in these situations. So they got me this ice cream to have, so I can have this ice cream to help cheer me up, put me in a good mood and focus for the next games. And as well as that, another thing to help increase my mood, boost my dopamine, is we've got a return guest for the first time. Someone enjoyed being on the podcast enough that they actually came back a second time. And not only that, but they've actually got a pretty big announcement. So this is sort of technically an exclusive because we're recording on Monday before the announcement, but Danny is actually going to be on the new Toronto Defiant roster as, what's the official role, Danny? Analyst?
Yeah, I'm going to be working as an analyst. Yeah. Slave, analyst, intern, assistant to the coach, whatever the title is, doesn't matter. But yeah, I'm happy to be working with Toronto Defiant this year.
But talk to me a little bit about how does that come around? Because you and Kasaurus worked together a very long time ago in Atlanta, but how does he come to the conclusion he wants you? How does that conversation sort of go? Because I do actually need to eat this ice cream before it melts.
Okay, so basically what happened is I had my original team that I was gonna work with Gator. We were gonna make a team, whatever. But I realized there's no money in Overwatch right now. There's barely any orgs, anything. I'm applying for real jobs. I'm emailing every org possible to just pick up our team, but it's not gonna happen. So one day I realized, I live in Toronto. Kasaurus has a Toronto team. I'm just gonna ask him, can I work for free while I'm staying in school? And yeah, that's what's ended up happening. He said he's cool with it.
Any price pool split?
I actually don't think so right now, but the terms of the contract and everything, it's all dependent on. It's undecided. Nothing's set in stone right now.
Well,
so it's kind of just an ongoing thing.
If Toronto are listening, I think you need to give Danny at least a couple of percentage points on the package, really make him earn it, some sort of incentive to keep him going.
Of course, if there's an incentive, if everyone likes my work, I think.
Yeah. So, give Danny some money. That's what I say.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we're using the term working pretty loosely here, when we're talking about terms of a contract for a $0, 0% split arrangement at the moment. It's not to be all doom and gloom or anything, but I do feel
we're working here.
Yeah. But that is the Uncoachable exclusive. Toronto has an intern now.
Yeah, we have an intern. Yay.
Congratulations, mate.
Yeah, real talk. Kasaurus is a real nice guy. He wanted to, of course, he wants to offer me a salary or whatever, but the org doesn't know what the return is yet. They want to spend all their money on all the players, the best players possible. I think they got the best possible roster in NA, so I'm happy to work with them. If they see value, they can pay me. Yeah.
What's the actual nature of your role then? Because when Kasaurus did an AMA after the sort of roster announcement, he talks about looking for a data analyst. So is your work going to actually be more data focused, or are you just an assistant coach in disguise?
I mean, I feel like it can be whatever I want it to be, whatever Kasaurus feels like. Like right now, I'm in school. I'm studying a lot of like statistics, data analysis, AI, a bunch of stuff. So I want to try to incorporate that with Overwatch as much as possible. I have some like little projects planned with Kasaurus, so that might be fun. But of course, I can just watch the scrims whenever, give my input, give feedback, normal stuff. But mostly, I want to pursue my degree and help out with data.
Max, you know what I realized?
Go on.
We are in the privileged position in this call right now because we are with one of very few people who might get his hands on the documents.
The document.
Oh no! Oh wow! It's by the end of the year, you could know a whole new game of coaching.
It would be unbelievable.
He's been constructing these coaching documents for
Dude,
so long.
I don't know
now.
anything about them. I'll ask him.
You'll have to.
You think you can leak them? If I pay you,
There's got to be an NDA.
You,
Surely Kasaurus has put an NDA on these documents.
If there's an NDA, dude, to be honest, if you pay me any money, I'll just hand them
we'll
over to
be
you.
paying you more than Toronto with a cent. So, look,
more than Toronto, dude.
is-
I'm out here. I'm trying to make some money. You give me a
will
good
have these
number, we
coaching
can make a
documents.
deal.
we will use all of our Patreon money to buy and release the documents. Like, you know, like the Jeffrey Epstein documents that eventually go wide after 2 years
Oh
of
my
being under an NDA, the coaching documents of Kasaurus' off-season.
Are you implying the coaching documents is just sort of some big list of Overwatch pedophiles?
It could be. To be fair, might be a big list, to be fair.
No comment. No comment.
No comments. Of course, no comments.
Do you know much about so when's it all kicking off for you guys? Because obviously you've got to get the Koreans over. Do you know when all of this is happening? When the team's gonna start scrimming?
Yeah, so we had a team meeting, whatever. The team wants to get all the players in as soon as possible, and it's looking like we get everyone in Toronto a week before the first, I think. So the Swiss bracket starts March 1st. We want to try to get everyone in by February 22nd or 26th. But we want to prioritize getting the Korean players in so we can scrim on good ping. If some of the like US players are a little bit late, that's okay. They can play remote. But of course, our priority is to get the Korean players in as soon as possible.
Sorry, bear with me. I don't know why I actually got so much ice cream. The joke was just going to be that I had ice cream, but I actually also got a full portion of ice cream, so I'm having to deal with this.
I also feel like the ice cream joke, they're going to get like an hour and a half into the episode and it's all going to make sense. But I feel like at this moment in time, it just looks like you're being rude and eating ice cream on the podcast.
There's a certain proportion of people who will get the joke immediately. And for everyone else, trust me, it was a funny joke and it will make sense. Within the next 2 hours, you'll realize why it was a good bit.
Oh, that guy with his ice cream. Are you guys same in the same apartments and working out the same facility that Toronto had last year?
Yeah, it's going to be the same facility, same apartment. So everything's on lock. Yeah.
They're going to try and do content and stuff the same way they did back in the day.
Yeah, content. Yeah, you got to make some money from the sponsors. That's how they're able to pay the players. You know.
Wait, so they're actually going to be putting them in the Gillette. Wait, no, it wasn't Gillette.
No,
it's the Bell.
Yeah, the Bell. Yeah, the Bell fiber room or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
Good.
Wow.
Good.
That's exciting.
That.
And now that you've got like a bit of a split going on the team, you could actually have a Bell segregation chamber this year.
You could
potentially. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm not sure if Kasaurus has that same militant style that Laurie had, but you know, there's a chance.
Well, if you reference page 17, you'll find out.
There is documentation around this.
You just check the coaching document. Oh yeah, we're talking about the Bell
segregation chamber. That's it.
Yeah, it's already pre-planned out. You got the blueprints and everything. How the chamber works. Yeah,
the seating arrangement.
Dude, we lose one map in scrim. Yeah, you're going to the segregation.
Get next door.
Outside of this phone, there's probably been not too much more news to come out of America. The biggest or the closest is probably that Kaluge, or basically the Winthrop roster with Seeker, have announced sort of like a hamster style, we're looking for org type thing. So the implication is they'd be willing to leave collegiate to go sign for an org if an org came in. I don't really know how good their chances are of getting an org, but maybe on paper, this Kaluge team does look to be the second best roster going that you could make in America without importing.
I think their roster is very good. I think it's one of the. I think they're going to get either second or third in NA based off of how everything's shaping out.
Yeah, it feels from my perspective at least like there was like, if you go back maybe 2 weeks, there was this like unbelievable rush. Everyone was like talking to orgs and everyone was getting all excited. And it feels like that is like massively quieting down to the point where maybe our initial prediction of like, will there actually be imports like in NA and EU? Maybe it's starting to like look like maybe there won't be. There was a time immediately, first thing over was like someone in Merit, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, maybe this is actually going to be like import city again. But it does feel like most of the rest of European and NA rosters, at least from what I currently know, is likely to just be kind of EU and NA players, which obviously puts this roster at a good chance of finishing top 2 or 3 quite easily, you'd say.
Yeah, something to consider also about imports is that because our team's in Canada, it's much easier to get a Canadian, like the Korean players getting a visa to Canada instead of the US, which takes like 3 or 4 months. So we're able to get out, like it's very fortunate that we're able to get all the Korean players in as soon as possible.
Yeah. You've been like, talking to different orgs in NA and whatnot in this kind of rush period. Do you think this roster, like the Kaluge team, do you think they're actually likely to find an organization to sign them and pay them like at least a remotely decent wage?
Yeah, so I've emailed like every org possible. To be honest, it looks pretty dim, but I think maybe as like the orgs have no real incentive to sign a team like right now. Like they can even wait like right before the events. Oh, they get their name on the jersey, whatever. So I think my kind of prediction is that many orgs are going to like pick up teams when they actually see the results. Like, oh, this no-name team got second place. Oh, let's sign them, and then when we go to Sweden, we'll have our name, whatever. I think that's probably what's going to happen.
So you think they're actually just going to like milk it all the way to the actual tournament qualifiers and then just sign people for the major when they know they're going to be up on the stage and not even bother paying them?
Either that or the earlier Dallas tournament. I think that's what's gonna.
The problem these orgs will have is if you offer to sign someone before Dallas and you take a prize pool percentage, which presumably orgs will, it's a worse offer to sign with it, especially with like the base salary which goes on now. So I feel like, like if you're an org that comes in and says, oh, we'll take 50% or like 25%, if you're only going to pay them for a month to go anyway, it's pointless. You're wasting your time doing it. I feel like there is probably an argument that once a team does qualify for the major, especially with the Esports World Cup being like a month or 2 after that would be a good team to try and like field the most strong roster you could, or to sign a roster. But it might just like the first online tournament might be so small for like these orgs that they just kind of wait and see what it looks like, what the product looks like, what the viewership looks like, and then make a decision from there.
Yeah, I'm 100% on that.
I could see some sort of arrangement where it's just like we'll pay for travel in exchange for a bit of some like sponsorship on the jersey or something, and like some kind of like small deal like that.
Like surely Blizzard's paying for travel already, like OWCS would be doing that, wouldn't they? There's no way they're expecting these teams to fly to Dallas for themselves.
Yeah, because there'll be unsigned teams, so I think you can't make an unsigned team pay for their own flights and stuff. So
then there's no real reason to sign, then, isn't there? Like you were saying, there's no reason to sign unless it's going to be like, oh, actually, we're going to sign you for the rest of the year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't think any team's going to do like a signing just for like 1 month or whatever. It would be something like, oh, we're going to pick you up right before Dallas until the end of the year in Sweden, something like that.
I guess it depends how far the prize pool goes down the chain, like from that major, right? Like how far down does the prize pool actually go? Like, would you still essentially make your money back, even if you didn't do well? But
I suspect if we get more concrete details about the World Cup, like we kind of spoke about a lot last week, I think that's probably when you'll see. Because if there's going to be 8 to 12 to 16 Overwatch teams playing at the World Cup, I imagine every single one of them will be sponsored, at least for that event. So I think that will be, because I think they're already starting to announce stuff for the Esports World Cup, right? Like a few StarCraft players, a few CS players, like they all did like big announcements. So
they've announced games, like they've announced Dota now, StarCraft,
and I saw like the first players, like the first CS team that won the major qualified. They tweeted that out.
It's the same because IM Katowice happened this weekend just gone. So I think I can't remember how many, but the CS teams qualified who won. Several of the players, I think the top 4 StarCraft players all qualified. Maybe slightly more because I think Cyril already had qualified, so they like the spots got bounced down as well. So they're already starting to get like players and stuff in. So it feels like the games have just been announced one by one. If you look at the games they've announced, it's like League, Dota, Counter-Strike, and what
StarCraft,
is it like?
and then Mobile Legends or
Bang
something.
Bang, is it something like something like that? One of the big mobile games, but it feels like we're sort of going down the tier list of big games to small games. So Overwatch is maybe somewhere on the horizon, somewhere on this tier list.
Yeah.
And then that might cause a lot of maybe orgs, if any orgs are looking to pull the trigger, that will cause them to pull the trigger once it's confirmed. Speaking of the Overwatch World Cup as well, there has been an announcement of another team that might be in a pretty good position to win this Overwatch Esports World Cup. And that's the Falcons announcement, which is obviously the Hamsters team, plus one guy who maybe wasn't originally on the rest. Like Fearless did get knocked off that original looking for org post and replaced by Smurf, but nobody saw Majid joining that post, I think. So maybe that's the big talking point in terms of new news, because we've talked about how good this roster is, but the Majid edition probably comes maybe out of left field for a lot of people here.
Yeah, when I first heard like a week ago that Majid was going to join this team, I was like, okay, this is like, you actually can't believe it, because I don't know if he's going to go to Korea. I don't know if he's like going to play like double flex maps. I don't know if he will scrim with the team or if it will purely just be like for like a Saudi Arabian org to get representation. But I really love the poster too, you know, like
I like the sizing on the
Yeah, I mean, I think he's gone to Korea right now. I know that like the Twisted Minds roster has just gone to Korea for like some sort of boot camp over there.
Right.
So you know they're still willing to pump lots of money into their Overwatch team. I see. Yeah, with Majed, it's like he's probably going over there just to chill, you know, just to walk around and enter the Balenciaga store or whatever it might be. Because I feel like you know. This shouldn't be that surprising, right? Like, I feel like on almost every team that Majed has been on, or actually in every Overwatch League team that Majed has been on, he's more so been like an emblematic player than he has been like an integral starting roster, you know? Like, if you look at the World Cup, he was obviously full-time starter for Team Saudi. But then you look at like Florida Mayhem in the year before, and he was just like riding the bench for 90% of the time anyway, you know? So it's clearly a position that he's comfortable with. And I mean, you look at the fucking Hamsters roster, it's like, there's no way they're ever going to play this guy. Like they're going to have a double flex meta, and they're just going to put Chio on Brig. Like you've got to be kidding, right? Like there's no way.
Vigilante couldn't get into that back line last year.
Well, that's it.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
So how resistant Atlanta were to play with new players. Just one of those things where, I mean, we've talked about this before, but sometimes there is genuine org pressure. It's like, no, you have to play this player, and you could definitely see this situation being one that maybe the same thing occurs. But you know, I suppose at least in some way, it's good that these guys got a team, because probably hard to argue this team is one of the teams that did deserve to be salaried, and it seems like they've been salaried quite well, so that's good.
Yeah, it's my belief and understanding that this team is being salaried like 4x what any other team in the entirety of Overwatch is being salaried. So I mean, good on them.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Falcons at the World Cup as well, right?
Guaranteed, 100%. Yeah. There's this org was the one that everybody was in the DMs about. There was rumors they were making like a EU super team. They were going to make like various versions of this team, and then eventually the rumors were they were just going to sign Hamsters. But Falcons was the offer that everybody was craving if it was possible. Also, did you hear about? I don't know. I shouldn't leak it, but did you hear about the coaching staff?
Yeah, I heard it was extensive.
Extensive.
I guess the easiest way to leak. If you thought the roster was stacked, you're probably going to think the same about the coaching lineup when you see it.
That's it, yeah. I think so too.
And it maybe isn't anyone on this podcast, if that's a spoiler. It's
unfortunately.
Not. It's Danny might
sneak in.
I feel like Gunter, you can fit in this roster.
Oh yeah, me and all those Koreans would go down a treat.
Or maybe just have Gator coaching this team. I don't know.
Oh yeah, actually, I mean that actually looks kind of like the Atlanta.
It kind of looks like his roster.
We need a coach who's experienced with these players, someone who's worked with them before. Do you know anyone?
Yeah, I bet Chio is ringing Gator up right now. Come on, let's go. Run it back one more time.
We've got it this year. We've got it this year. So yeah, this team seems pretty set to dominate Overwatch for the foreseeable future, unless there's some kind of dramatic patch or some kind of tremendous internal drama where Magic is forced to play every game and everyone blows up mentally.
We can beat them.
You can beat them?
Me and UX, we knocked almost every single one of those players out of the league last year. We can do it again.
Yeah, but now they have Smurf, mate. And there's one player we did not knock out of the league last year.
I bet that's why they brought Smurf.
That's why Fearless got cut. Smurf is the anti-London player.
Fearless, and then they like Proper was thinking, oh, Shebal, London always fucking knocked me out. And then all of the Atlanta guys the same. And then they realized we need the Thanos of killing London. So they brought him in.
So now it's actually the perfect roster because it can now beat London as well, thanks to the addition of Smurf.
Fuck. So, yeah. Maybe Astro is what we need. We brought in Astro to like one up the Smurf, but we'll see.
We'll see how it plays out.
Astro had a very successful career last year versus Boston Uprising for sure. So like he's the kryptonite to Smurf. He's going to change the tide.
He's the counter.
Just him himself. He just counters Smurf. You know.
Yeah.
He knows how to play against it.
So now London have got the Esports World Cup in the bag. The only other news that really came out of Korea, it was actually out last week. We didn't really talk about it. Was this FTG team who did a similar sort of, we're looking for an org. This is the Belos Ria team. Belos Ria, Benar. Oh, it's all gone out of my head right now.
Is this the one with the...
Alpha E, Flora,
Who's
Finn,
the coach
Violet.
of this team?
Is this Neko?
Is he going to get mentioned already?
Yaki.
Yeah, there you go. How long are we in? 16 minutes, something like that? 20 minutes? 30 minutes? That's not bad for a Yaki mention.
Yeah, just unbelievable. I feel like we covered this last week. I feel like we said something about this.
Yeah, you made a joke about Yaki, but we didn't talk about the team. I suppose that's what we were going to do when we talk about the team anyway, isn't it? Let's just keep it real.
I mean, I feel like I don't even have to say anything about Yaki anymore. You know, now it's just like a Yaki mentioned, and it's like
it's so infamous for the community. Like
it actually is, dude. IQ quick play.
What's the deal with Unter's Yaki hate?
IQ quick play in Australia because I'm trying to be a happy little client like fucking Xavier, and then I get people asking me like, "Hey, do you really hate Yaki? Hey, what was wrong with Yaki?" It's like, just leave me alone. I was just trying to lose a quick play game on Junker Queen, and I'm getting barraged.
It's funny you mentioned that. Because in one of my quick play games, and it seems like eventually this podcast is just going to be me and Unter recounting stories from our quick play games. But in my quick play game, we C9 for point, and they were like, "Oh, Yaki!" Someone said Yaki touch in it afterwards as well. So I just can't get away from it now. It's infested.
You guys are reaching the quick play players.
That's
it.
That must be our audience. That must be it.
That's
Maybe
our
I
audience.
should have insulted them all last week.
Sub to Patreon for Uncoachable.
That's the answer.
That's it.
All right, perfect.
So then I think roster-wise, the only other rumor was from friend of the podcast, Halo of Thoughts, who leaked, quote unquote, there's a potential new team with essentially the sort of SRP check core plus Kai and Kevster, which seems like a pretty good way of building a European team once all the London players have grouped up as well.
Can we talk first about the formatting of this announcement from our good friend Halo of Thought?
Yeah, we can break it down.
Is there a specific reason that all 4 players get their first name and then Ghost just gets like stuck at the bottom? Like,
did he not know his first name?
I don't know. I just can't understand why you wouldn't also include Ghost in, like, why he would just be in the subtext of the tweet.
It's because his name's not on his Wikipedia.
So yeah.
Oh, wait, it is. I've just checked. It is. He just doesn't know and didn't bother to find out.
That's a true journalist right there. That's what the Overwatch community needs from our journalists.
I don't know why Halo of Thoughts he unretires and retires like every year at this point. He's back.
There was one Reddit comment. I don't know if did you guys see the Reddit comment of the random Redditor just like absolutely roasting Halo of Thoughts? It was honestly the funniest thing I've ever seen. He was talking about, like, there was a joke about like Massa's retiring, and then Halo of Thought says, "Oh yeah, I don't like," or like Massa couldn't handle the real world. So then Halo replied on the Reddit thread, "Oh yeah, I don't blame him." And then the guy replies to him saying, "Yeah, I know, you couldn't handle it either," and it got like fucking 200 upvotes. It's on the screen.
That's actually so good.
Actually, the greatest Reddit moment of all time. It was so funny.
That's pretty good.
I don't know if you saw Hello Tweet's thought today though, but he says I didn't really read the patch notes, but it looks good. So if you were wondering about the patch notes, it should be okay.
I've not read them, but I've got a great feeling about it, guys. So Overwatch is back. I feel.
So.
Do you think there's been less leaks this year without Overwatch League? I feel like the actual leakers have got way less access to stuff than they normally do.
I mean, the
feel like
problem
they've
with
not been
Overwatch
able
League
to
is
leak as
that I
much.
feel like they're so inaccurate anyway. Like the other one is the Varuna person, but then half of theirs have been wrong this off. Like you can't even leak the rosters because there's no rosters anyway. Like every roster will change if an org comes in, so like you can leak this
Like
roster. But then if
something.
Falcons offers Kevs the money, then this roster's wrong too, you know. So all of this leaking is like effectively like irrelevant because no one's tied down to anything.
But it's like we talked about last week, how in reality everything is a pit of snakes right now, where any org can basically manipulate the market and the players in any way they want because people are going to prioritize a paycheck over any sort of an existing agreement. Yeah. So, and to be fair, I don't think anyone would actually resent any player for taking that offer either, because everyone would do the same thing. So
100%.
So then the other big news, and I think it's out tomorrow, right, is the new patch notes, and the official patch notes that RuPaul leaked are announced. And I think they're all broadly the same, right? I don't know if there's maybe a few maybe more details on some of the Farah changes, but broadly speaking, this is the patch notes. It's going to come into play and probably going to be one of the most substantial changes to gameplay we've seen from an Overwatch patch.
Yeah, really, yeah. We scrimmed on it today, kind of like Gunba made a code because, you know, that's what Gunba does. So there's like a code with all the HP changes and like the hitbox changes and stuff like that. And the game feels really different, actually, like kind of nicer too. Like, it's funny because I was thinking the other day, like, I know on this podcast, I've kind of been vocal about the idea that everyone just like complains about patches and stuff and says everyone's unfun. But as we were scrimming, like as the London team, like this time round, it occurred to me that in this Ram Sojourn mirror, like 70% of these fights are just getting decided by which Sojourn headshots someone first. And I'm like, actually, fuck, you know, this is actually kind of boring, you know, like I hate to use the word boring, but it occurred to me, you remember the playoff meta where it was like Winston, Curry, Sojourn? It was the same thing where it was just like those finals and those semifinals were just dominated by which Sojourn was just getting like the headshots first. And playing for like 2 blocks today where there wasn't a single time where someone just got peaked by a Sojourn like headshot because you can't one shot anymore. It's kind of nice, actually. Obviously, because us London, we're probably victims of the like snipers more than most with the way that we play. But I also felt like now everyone at least has a chance to impact like the first pick or like influence the fight more than like you saw like some of the lip performances and the proper performances, right? I don't think it's like an outrageous claim to make that in like since Sojourn's been a character, the better Sojourn was the most impactful role on the team, like a huge percentage of the time. Even the Junker Queen meta was the same, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Sojourn's just been the strongest character in the game for like 2 years straight, you know, ever since Overwatch 2. It's been like the pace deciding hero for like every team.
With every comp as well. And that's because originally she was designed to be like a high mobility hit scan with a like good survivability. But she's even in the slower comp, she's still a must.
Yeah, I mean, she's just really fucking strong.
Yeah.
Dude, original Sojourn, I don't know if you guys remember, like
that was
when Overwatch first got announced, that
you
was...
remember the E?
Oh my god! When it was
slow,
bugged and it did extra damage.
Yeah, it would like one shot. If you got
crazy.
caught in a like, I remember I was Zen walking up the stairs in Gibraltar, and then if you timed it right, it would die. There would actually be 0 way to save Zen from it because it would slow and it was bugged, so it was doing like quadruple damage. So
yeah, and I mean, people are still complaining about Sojourn now, and like they've nerfed all the one shots, like everything. But I think Sojourn's just crazy.
Yeah, my feeling is that she's not as like she's way less strong. Like the fact that you can't just like win fights immediately is like a huge. Like I don't know what you guys have like for meta predictions, but I feel like the 3 heroes which maybe got affected the most on paper are like the snipers that could one shot, so like Sojourn, Hanzo, and then like I think Genji just got like ripped to shreds by all these like new breakpoint changes.
Yeah, I mean, I think people just kind of sleep on how this is going to shift the pacing of the game overall. You know, I've heard lots and lots of people complaining about how it's like, oh, it's catering to bad players and it's going to make the game trash because it's going to be so easy for everyone to do everything. And I mean, I feel like I don't really agree with that sentiment at all. You know, it's just going to like massively shift what is rewarded in the game. You know, it's just going to make it like more MOBA-esque and less mechanically intensive in a sense. You know, like the game is more about like your cooldown management and your positioning than it is about like your raw mechanical skill. And I'd say that that's not necessarily a bad thing. If anything, like the reason that Overwatch has been so successful is because it caters towards things like that already with the hero roster. You know, people play heroes like Mercy, Moira, some of the tanks where like there's no like intense aim requirements, stuff like that. And people enjoy that shit. You know, the fact that you can play Mercy, Moira, Ryan, and people enjoy that because the skill expression is like, you know, it's not about do you have the craziest aim in the world. I mean, applying that to more of the game, it doesn't make the game brain dead or trash. If anything, it actually, you know, you have to think more if it's less mechanically intensive and it's more about management of your cooldowns and whatnot. So I feel like it's not a net negative, but like almost every pro that has been mega rewarded for having crazy fucking mechanics is probably going to be a little unhappy about it because it doesn't actually like, it doesn't play into the thing that makes pros probably separate from most other people, just like the level of mechanical skill that they have.
In theory, it should just shift the skill. Like it just shifts which skill is rewarded more, but it doesn't mean it's kind of like it's like trying to have an argument about like who's more skilled, a League of Legends pro or a Counter-Strike pro. Was like the answer is they're just both very skilled at very different things. It's hard to actually truly compare or say one is better or worse than the other.
And I also think that people are kind of like, you know, people are fucking idiots if they think that catering to casuals is a bad thing, you know? Like the only way that a game can be successful is if you cater to the casuals. You know, the pro player base being 0.01% of the population, people that play the game, it's even less than that, right? Like they're not making you any money, right? Like everyone knows that esports is doing nothing but setting the money on fire.
We're actually taking the money.
Yeah,
right.
So like if you want to make more money as an esports pro, you should cater to more of the casuals, and then you should get them to buy your little crowd-funded skins for the tournaments you're going to play in Dallas and Stockholm. But you know, people don't see that big picture.
I was going to say the fundamental reason League of Legends is so big is because its player base is so big. It's not anything else, right? It's just simple. The more people who play the game, even if because they don't have a particularly high conversion rate, I think, from their player base to people who watch the esport. But because that player base number is so big, it's just a large number of people who watch the esport anyway. So it still becomes quite valuable. So you want the player base to be high if you want the game to be successful and to keep going.
Yeah. Although people, you know, the gap between League of Legends and Overwatch viewership at this point, you know, I think it's like more than just about the player base. Like I think Overwatch still has some player base, but like the viewer base is really low.
Yeah, but to be fair, I was watching LCS last night. It had like 30k viewers. It's like some of
LCS
the league,
has dropped off quite a lot.
Like some of it is dying too. Like everything's like dying, which is good. You know, I'm glad that's happening. Yeah,
and I'm happy to see the industry burn as we work in it.
Yeah, good. Do you have a meta prediction, Danny? Is it in the docs?
No fucking idea. Like I was talking to
it'll be in the
about
docs somewhere, right?
Oh no, it has not been. You know, could probably run the stats on it. You know, run like an AI predictor. How does the game work? But no, I don't have any prediction. I mean, I agree with all the sentiments you said. Like, I think it's gonna be a lot more like macro focused, team play focused. Probably rush. I think definitely it's a lot less mechanical skill, one shots, things like that. So maybe that suits you guys. Maybe it doesn't. We'll see how it goes.
Watch out, proper.
Hamsters in the bin.
Dude, I actually, maybe they will fall off. I don't know, but we'll see.
Got no chance.
But I think that covers pretty much all the relevant news, unless I'm forgetting anything major.
Nope.
No, I think we're good. Nope. So now we can move on to the bit where the intro is going to start making sense. But before we get to that. It's time to talk about Washington, Danny, but I think we should maybe start at the start because on paper, I think a lot of people looked at your roster at the start of the season and went, oh, this is going to be a fucking disaster. So how close is that final Washington roster that you started with to what you wanted in the offseason?
Yeah, so the original roster that we were going to put together was the one that got leaked. Like we were going to get Fitz and Iris. And honestly, I think that roster would have been pretty good, but at the same time, like how it ended up, it wasn't that bad. But the most like difficult part, and of course everyone's gonna like bash Amaze for bringing on Ben and FD. They still participated in the tryouts, and we still came to the conclusion that even if we want to make some upgrades, the upgrades are like side grades at best. And then if we want to get a Korean player, it's like, what the fuck are we doing? We have 2 NA staff, and then we have like 4 or 5 Koreans. That wouldn't make much sense without a translator too. But yeah, there weren't that many better like main supports. Like from the top of my head, the only main support that we were really considering was Bliss, and then he got swept to Dallas. So all the other main supports were like, there weren't really many upgrades we could have made there.
Were you stuck then essentially only trialing NA and EU players for these spots?
No, we were trialing almost every role. I'm talking about mainly tank and main support, because I think those were the roles with like the least like really high skilled players that were still like that weren't signed to any teams. So like some of the top flex DPS that we wanted were Alfie, Top Dragon, and Spectra. If we got any of them, I was very happy with that. But then when you get to roles like tank, like the only other tank we really could have gotten was like Belisria or Tuyu. And Belisria and Tuyu, they both ended up on league teams at the end. But I don't think would have done that much better. I think the mirror pickup we made was probably one of the better pickups that we made, because he was able to play both roles, and he was really good in like a mixed environment, so that helped a little bit. But then when you look at like main support, like I don't really know what other main supports we could have picked up, especially in NA. Like the only other one was Lep. He went to New York, and then maybe you could have went to like EU. There's like Kalex and like who's the Finnish Dala? Dala, I think his name is. Maybe he's not Finnish.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Yeah.
He's Finnish, yeah.
So I don't know. We went with our roster and we hoped for the best. And honestly, at the start of the first half of the season, we actually did very well. So I wasn't mad at all. But
Yeah.
when the turning point happened, similar to the Gladiators, I think that was the downfall.
What were the expectations then, really? Because you come in this roster where you've got some players like Alpha Yi, who even before the season, most people thought like this guy's going to be one of the better players in the league.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got some players like that, but you've also got some roles where obviously some teams have some stronger main tanks, some stronger main supports, probably some stronger flex supports as well. What were really your expectations then coming in about how well you do and where you'd finish?
Yeah, so the expectations, obviously, like no one thought we were gonna like win the league, whatever. We just wanted to have as much fun as possible. Everyone's on minimum salary, like everyone's just chilling, trying to have some fun, get on a better team next year. But we're still trying to grind it out, try to win as many games as possible. And we had some good wins, especially against Gladiators on Flora Hanzo on Shambali. Like he's getting you guys.
Did you live up to that mission statement of having fun all year long? Win or
no.
lose?
I was going to say it sounded like the least. It didn't sound too fun.
It did not end up too fun at the end.
Minimum salary team. We're here just to have a good time. But I can't think of a single positive moment from the Washington Justice season in terms of people saying I had a good day today.
Okay.
Wait,
that might be right. That might be right.
You don't remember that photo GetAmazed took? Everyone looked pretty happy in that photo, didn't they?
That was a good little photo.
Yeah. So I mean, like any other team, like we definitely had our issues. Like I'm sure against you guys, we've rage quit. Like every once in a while, you would have like either like Mir or Teru. I mean, even me and GetAmazed, we've rage quit before. Like it happens sometimes, but we have our arguments.
I mean, to Ben's credit, he might have been like pretty mentally fallible. Like you could crack that guy easily, but he would never leave the lobby. Like Ben would never rage quit. He would just start typing angrily in French in the match chat at me instead. So I think that there's something to be said.
Ben's attitude was actually pretty good, but maybe he would type in chat.
Like
deficit
everyone, to be fair, what they say about Ben Best is like they say he actually has like a really like professional attitude, like tries hard every single time, like he really tries to lead the team. So it feels like as a person and as like a leader, it feels like no one really speaks too badly about Ben Best. But then I think obviously on this podcast we've brought up, especially when we were on like our arc of like the mixed rosters arc, like when we were on our Korean hatred arc, like what really propelled us to superstardom. The example we always used of a mixed roster that was like kind of like doomed to fail from the start was yours because it felt like
Yeah.
the talent
The
level
skill disparity.
Yeah, it
between
felt like
roles.
it was inevitable that if you started to lose, and the
Yeah.
Koreans were going to turn on the Westerners on that team.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think Ben Best gets a little bit more like flack than he actually does, because if you actually look at the stats, like I think he's only played maybe 10 maps this entire year as starting tank. Like we played Mirror almost the entire season, and the only time we would play Ben is like if we were playing Mirror on Alari. So I think that kind of gets a little thrown out. But I think the argument for our supports like Teru and Donghun or FD, that caused some issues for sure.
What's the actual internal dynamic like then between like at least early on in the season? Was it actually when you're doing like a bit better? Is there a good vibe, or was there tension early on between like Alfie and Flora and the?
No, honestly, I think there was really good environment starting out, but of course, I think it was when we lost against Boston in one of the tournaments, the tournament to go to Korea. That's when it definitely started, and then we decided to make the change for FD for Donghun. But honestly, the environment was really good, but it just became like a finger pointing game. And like, to FD and Ben's credit, like both of them tried really hard to like integrate themselves and like talk to the team. But it's like really hard for someone with a French accent to talk to someone in Korean. The Koreans don't really know much English, so
Yeah.
I mean, Teru's English ended up being good, but yeah, it was pretty difficult. And then same even for like GetAmazed, like we've had a lot of issues with GetAmazed, like trying to communicate to the team. Like we didn't have any translator or whatever. When he's talking in an accent, like it's difficult for them to understand. We would have to like type things out a lot of the time.
You had JMac at the start as well, right?
Yeah.
But also, isn't JMac's English meant to be not that good?
Yeah, his English was not very good. Like he would try to translate, but then sometimes he wouldn't get it 100%. Like we would have to spend like so much time in review, but we ended up actually just letting him go. So it was just us two at the end.
So when it came to the arguments, are most of them happening in scrims or out of scrims? Like let's maybe like hovering
scrims.
like so. How would they work? So we always ask coaches this, like, how was it your day to day? You guys would do a VOD review before scrims?
Yeah, usually either VOD review, review, and then two, 3 blocks, whatever. But most of the arguments usually began like during scrim. Like someone was just either give up, or like we see the same constant mistake, and I'm like, okay, whatever, I'm just done. So yeah, that's basically what happens. Like usually it's definitely a build up. Like you'll see like the first like 3-4 maps we're losing to like some like shit team. We're losing to, oh my god, I was gonna say London.
Yeah, say it.
we're losing to Vegas. I mean, yeah, you guys have tilted. You guys have definitely tilted us. I'm sure you've tilted a lot of teams. I think we weren't really like a good mindset team. And like to like GetAmazed's credit, like he definitely tried to like get people in like the good mindset, but it was really hard for the Korean players specifically to like get like the motivation and get the meaning behind what he was saying. Is kind of what I felt. Like I felt like there was a big disconnect between the Korean players and him.
Yeah, in my experience when it comes to stuff like this, I feel like it's always like you can, if you do a motivational speech, because in season 2 Philly we had a lot of stuff and we were doing motivational speeches or discipline speeches, and you would get them to try for the first few maps. But if you just started to lose again, like that adversity would always just bring out the same problems. And what you almost had to do was find a way to motivate them. And then what the key was to win the scrim. If you could find a way to get a winning run go together, everything gets solved. But no matter how you say to Alfie or to Flora, honestly, just come on, let's keep going. If you lose the first 2 maps, then it's just over again, in my experience.
Yeah.
I think you lose a lot of that emotion, and like if you're trying to talk to someone in like a way to motivate them or inspire them to do more, it's so much harder in a foreign language.
Yeah.
No matter how good or their understanding is or your ability to speak it is, it's just you lose so much of that emotion in it.
I think that these mixed rosters, you know, like if they have a Western dad coach at the top, it's really, really, really difficult to actually have like any impact as the dad coach, you know, like you can't use 95% of your vocabulary and nothing is convincing. So it's kind of like, you know, you're just going off 100% vibe of the way that you're talking, you know, they're just trying to like read your emotional inflection and that's about it because, you know, otherwise they're not going to understand what you're saying. I think
Yeah.
that's why people like Krusty have done so well historically, is because they're actually like fluent in both languages, and they can also strategic coaching, but they can be like very on the inspirational side in either language, so they can actually motivate players on either side.
But it's been way more success Korean to English team, right, and vice versa. Like Korean coach of English speaking players.
It just shocks the successful team, right? Like it's just been Krusty a couple of times
I
over.
guess KDG would be the other one, right? I guess he's not really a dad coach.
No, the opposite.
KDG
really.
won anything?
Yeah.
I was good for us in that season. We were good, to be fair, but I also don't think he was inherently a dad coach. I think he was a understand Overwatch really well coach.
Yeah. I think it's way easier to be worse with the language if you're like a strategic genius, if you're not like if you're not insane at doing speeches, but you have really good ideas all the time, then it's easier to convey that, I'd say, across the cultures.
Yeah. I don't know if like this rings true, but I also feel like there's an element of like as a Western coach, when you get as a Western player, when you get your first Korean coach, it's also kind of really cool because you see them as like the pinnacle of esports. So when you get a Korean coach and he's actually really smart, like you kind of like fall in love with him like instantly. Whereas I dare say there is like this idea somewhere that if you're a Korean player and you get put on a team with a Western coach, that you don't necessarily have that same immediate, oh, this guy's going to be a genius. Like I know when I got coached by KDG in Contenders when I was still a player. And at this time he was like a tier 4 Korean coach, but I was like, oh, this guy's a genius straight away. And I was like, oh, I love my Korean coach. Like I love how hard he works and blah, blah, blah. Whereas maybe I'm like projecting my inner racism again, but I feel like the opposite seems so unlikely to be true.
Yeah, I've heard there's definitely like less famous strategic minds for Western coaching. Western coaches are all just like dad coaches. That's pretty common.
you got Gator. I mean, the only one maybe is Gunba. Like, I'm actually like pretty interested. Like, how was Gunba able to like motivate his team in like tough times, like as Florida when he
with
just
an
has
iron fist?
Koreans?
Yeah, no, with
Just,
like
yeah,
with a lack of empathy.
Yeah.
Was detail focused again, right? Like I imagine most of Gunba's was we're going to VOD review. Here's how we solve a problem. Here's how we want you to play. And there's not necessarily a big speech about like, here's what it means and here's the mindset. It's just here's what we're going to do. Here's how we beat them. Here's what we need to do. Go and do the thing, and we'll be okay. And then I wouldn't be surprised if on that Florida, the person who is the sort of emotional leader was actually way more someone than any of the coaching staff.
Yeah,
definitely. I could see that.
Would you have said that GetAmazed fitted into the personality of a dad coach then? Like when you guys did your hour-long VOD review, was it coach-led? Was it kind of like let the players decide what we want to do?
Yeah, it was definitely coach-led. Like, of course, we would want to inspire other people to bring up any points. I was always open to that. But it was mostly me or GetAmazed just reviewing, talking. But the like hardest thing was like most of like the feedback. Like sometimes it was just directed to like Donghun, and then Donghun would also be our translator most of the time for our reviews, and then that's just like it's really hard. And then like maybe Teru wants to say something to Donghun, he says it in Korean to him because it's just why not. But then I don't understand what's going on, or like Alpha U wants to flame Donghun for like I don't know, not packing him or following him on the side or whatever, and then like me and GetAmazed just don't understand, and then there's some like intricacies there where it's like it's difficult for me and GetAmazed to be involved with.
How did it work then because you said Donghun did a lot of the translation, but obviously he wasn't there for the first half. So how did it work pre-Donghun?
We would just take our time talking English, if someone didn't understand. I mean, it's really hard for us to like judge if a person really understood or not. Like I don't know if people don't realize this, but I was in my home in Canada, and then everyone else is like in their own like player room, and then GetAmazed isn't even in the room. Like sometimes GetAmazed would literally just go behind them and just watch them just to make sure they're watching the VOD review. But I know that there's definitely been players that are playing Maple Story or League or TFT or whatever during reviews, which is pretty hard to monitor. And like there's only so much you can like push the players to say, oh, listen right the fuck now, this is VOD review time, we need to focus. Then you have people that are eating, taking a shit during like VOD review. Just classic.
Well, I think
I think even sometimes, especially with like Korean players, that you will do a VOD review with them and they would be paying attention and you assume they understand what you're saying, but if they just didn't understand it and they're never going to be vocal about like, so then they'll get into Scrim and then they'll just fucking do exactly what you told them not to do, and you're like, oh, fuck, like if you just told me that you didn't understood what I said, then we can fix it. But like they're just gonna go with the flow, and then you feel like 70% of the words that you're actually speaking were just absolutely useless. This is why I was like so against it. All of these stories are exactly why when I built London, I said, no, just give me a team of people that speak English, because at least everything that I do will hit their ears in one way or another.
One of the most effective things I did actually was the videos, and then I would literally just use Papago fucking translate, just subtitles. And then even on Atlanta, I don't know if you were around, Hunter, but Dongmin would literally write like Sefi or me would like do a video, and then he would do subtitles in Korean, like literally what we're saying in the videos. I thought that was pretty effective.
Yeah, I remember asking Dongmin to do like a couple of the subtitling things, but it was just something where like if you're consistently putting stuff out, it didn't really feel fair on the guy, you know? Like it took so much time for him to do that. And he was like very good with live translation. So I felt like I would avoid making videos and just try to do more live with him, because he could do subtitling, but you know, he's also just getting worked like an absolute dog. It's like Sefi makes some long rambling video, you make a little video, I make a video. Suddenly the guy's a fucking full-time subtitler on top of being a translator for the day-to-day. It's like, it's not really fair on him, you know? Even if he was simultaneously playing WoW the entire time, it's still just like, it's not really fair on them to do that. I think there has to be some sort of a middle ground.
Yeah, but to be fair, like Peli and Hyun, I think their English is much better than maybe it's equal, but Terra's is good, but Flora and Alfie is a little bit worse. So maybe there's something there.
It was only in 23 Gladiators when I actually like got to experience Korean players that had like a really low level of English. You know? Like before then, like everyone in Atlanta, I don't know, maybe they were just like smart guys or something like that. You know, like they all understood. You know, like even Peli, like it felt like Peli didn't have like the greatest spoken English or whatever, but his comprehension was like pretty good, and you could like figure everything out with him. Like you just sit down and talk with him. You wouldn't need to pull out the translator much. But yeah, by 23, you know, like we started to get some Korean players that really had like a lower level of English understanding, and that shit is so hard. Like it's genuinely like borderline impossible. I think like it's great if a team doesn't have it's great if a team doesn't need a translator because everyone has a high enough level of English to make it work. But if you don't have a translator and you need to convey shit, it's just a complete troll. Like it's into your entire team if you don't have someone that can actually be there in the middle as the conduit to like make things make sense for both parties. Because if you're just going through Google Translate or Papago or whatever the whole time, and you actually have real problems on your team, like Washington Justice undoubtedly would have all year long because you had a terrorist on your roster, like there's just no hope. You really need someone that can translate. So getting a Korean assistant coach that also can't speak English, probably not the move.
Because this shouldn't have been as...
In hindsight.
Was that a factor when you were building the roster, the level of English on any of the Korean players you were planning to get?
I mean, Iris and Fitz, definitely their English level is pretty good. But afterwards, like when they decided, oh, we're not joining the team, we're going New York, Shanghai, whatever. We were kind of like in the scraps, so we wanted to sign people as fast as possible. So then we just decided, oh, Alfie is mates with Flora and Taro. Let's just get them done.
That also sounds like a recipe for a disaster of having a split within a team by signing 3 players to.
I mean, that's what happened.
Korean players with limited English who are all existing friends beforehand, and then you pair them with the French players, and it's like everyone has to be one group. No dividing, no segregation.
Yeah, that in hindsight it is probably a disaster. I mean, is it time to get into the juice? My worst mistake of all time, or because
what are you talking about? Yeah, we can talk about it. Well, let's start with the first one because the first one makes more sense, right? Because you decide to get rid of FD God.
Yeah, but
you could also make the argument maybe at this point why out of everyone FD God, and this will maybe lead you on. Did you consider more changes as well on top of just FD?
Yeah, so basically the conclusion we came down to is, our team, so after whatever the midseason qualifiers, whatever that is, we lost 2-3 to Boston, and then we lost to Florida or whatever. We were like pretty close to making it to the line. So we're like, okay, let's try to push ourselves. We see Donghoon, who is playing most recently on Dreamers. His team got second in whatever tournament. I checked his replays, whatever. So I thought he was pretty good. Like I watched his VODs. His Brig was really good. His Lucio is one of the best as well. Okay. But his Lucio looked pretty good from the matches that I watched, but we decided overall, oh, he's a young guy. Let's take a chance. Let's just do it because mainly the Korean players weren't too happy about how FD was playing, and that was really hard for GetAmazed to convince or just tell FD, oh, we're changing this. We're making this move.
I'm kind of curious.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious as to like how it was that GetAmazed dealt with FD and Ben all throughout the year, you know, because they're like his boys all the way through. You said before, like you were doing some like wank Ben apologist shit, where you were like, oh, you know, people are like, oh, Ben wasn't that crap. He only played 10 maps all year. That's like an indictment on Ben, you know, the fact that he could only sneak in 10 maps on the starting roster all year long. Apart from the fact that those 10 maps were probably all just complete wank as well. Like he was probably just getting shit on. But it's like the fact that he could only get 10 maps into the starting roster, like, isn't that the indictment in itself? Like, over Mirror, who's a DPS player.
Mirror benching him on Winston's probably the big one, right? Now it's like the biggest indictment. Now Mirror came in with way less experience and benched him on Winston.
And they were acting like Ben was the Winston player. But I swear to God, Mirror was.
Are you talking about in Pro-Am when we played Ben all the maps, and then like the very last map we like swapped in Mirror? Whatever.
Just a general theme, you know?
Yeah, he was he was your Winston player for most of the year, right? Mirror?
No, Mirror definitely played Winston. Yeah. I think his Winston was just better. Like overall, when you look at it, his Winston was better. Like how he communicated with everyone, he wasn't taking poke early, things like that. And the conclusion we came to with our team was, oh, we want to play Mirror on Winston. And that was really it. There wasn't really any big drama. Like Ben's role, I think he would mainly play Li Zhang and maybe a few of the maps where we played double flex because we would put Mirror on Alari. But yeah, that was the conclusion. There wasn't really anything with it. Like a lot of people say that like GetAmazed was like super biased or whatever for putting them on the team, but then like GetAmazed is just benching them and he's completely okay with them getting benched and then FD getting kicked. So yeah, I'd like to defend Amaze there.
Yeah, I don't think any of us. I think like you're right. That Mirror is the better Winston. I guess the argument is, why have a guy just to play Reinhardt? Maybe there's some irony saying that.
Yeah.
As a London Spitfire coach, but why have a guy is like such a small pool, you know? So that's I think maybe where some of the criticism comes for like the Ben connection of he didn't really play a big role in the team.
Yeah, so the thought like I had mainly was that like we were gonna put Mirror on any double flex that we could, and then you just put Ben in whenever we want Mirror in on double flex, because originally when we were gonna get FD, of course the flex supports are lacking, but I think if Mirror can cover that and then you put Ben in, something like that, that could work out well. That's what we ended up doing most of the year. And then even we had Ben Best Anna at one point, which we that's a complete other thing we can
let's talk about that. It's so
let's get there.
What's the juice? Is there juice?
Okay. Am I good to announce my biggest mistake of all time?
Oh, please do.
Okay,
100%.
so
this is the place to do it.
My biggest mistake of all time in Overwatch League is declining a trade RuPaul for Teru with the Florida Mayhem mid-season, which in hindsight, you look at me, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? So
this season?
Yeah. Last season, yeah.
2023, right?
Really?
Yeah, 2023.
The season that Florida won.
Yeah, the season that Florida won.
They were trying to sell our boy. They wanted to go full Korean. Fuck, dude.
Yeah, so basically the idea, like you said, Florida wanted to go full Korean at one point, and they were like talking to people, and then they were like, oh, what do you think about Teru for RuPaul? And then our message was, oh, we can't separate Alfie from his boy, you know, he wants to be with Teru. And honestly, like, I think about it now, it's like, dude, what are you doing, bro? Like, and like the worst thing was, like later, like a week or so, like he had like a, I don't want to call it a meltdown, but like he had like a day where he like rage quit or whatever. We messaged and Gunba, we're like, okay, let's do the trade, but then they're like, oh, it's too late, whatever. So yeah, that's the whole problem. I think that's actually the week we played Ben Anna. Like Teru had like a day or something, like something was like just not clicking, like he didn't want to play with Donghyun or was it either Donghyun or FD, whoever we had at the time. He didn't want to play with them. He just gave up. He thought we were losing too much, so we played Ben on Anna. And we tried
we were losing too much.
Didn't Teru also refuse to play?
We're losing too much. I'm not playing.
Didn't Teru also do something similar on Titans, where it just got to a certain point where he was like, "Nah, I'm not playing anymore. This is too bad."
Yeah, Terry's got a bit of a reputation as a terrorist. I think a lot of
Yeah.
people that have been in the league for a while know it, and like Danny knew it too because he's friends with the guy that like
we
was on
definitely did
Titans at the time.
ask him about it before we signed him. And to be fair,
He
like
said he wasn't a
he wasn't
terrorist
the only
anymore.
one.
It's fine now.
Yeah, no,
No,
okay.
No, that's C4 strapped itself to my chest.
No. Okay, to be fair to Teru, like he actually wasn't the only person on the team that like rage quit a couple times, so I'll say that. And then also when you look at the match where we actually played Ben on Ana, it was with Teru on Brig, if I remember correctly, because Donghyun was on Ping. So I think there was also one point where we played like Teru was like super pissed at Donghyun or something about Brig, so we put Teru on Brig and then Ben on Ana. We tried that out for a scrim and look, it was whatever. So we ended up doing that when we were down 0-2.
Yeah.
That's a real desperation pick. Like putting your like 40
I mean,
year old
dude, he's on.
player on
Okay,
Ana
no,
is just
Donghyun's on like
insane.
200 ping. He's in Korea, and then we're playing on East server. Like we're fucked.
Bro, it's
down
Ben
0-2,
on
might as well
Ana,
try.
I
dude.
have to
Like
say, I
Ben,
didn't feel like you were going to win.
Ben is a Ryan
you
player.
give it a
Ben
try.
just comes in.
You give it a try.
Give it a try. I mean,
He actually
I mean,
played
just giving
pretty
it
good
a try,
in the
but
scrim.
then there's
I'll
like
give him
giving
that.
it a try, right? It's like imagine we went on London, we went 2 rounds, so we just let everyone roll swap, just fucking give it a try, see what happens.
No. But we've scrimmed it before. We've scrimmed it before, 100%. Like there was
Because
this whole
Terror has
thing-
rage quit.
There was one point where like Terra had like
A little bit.
Terra didn't come for like 2 days or something like that because of whatever issue. So we just
Oh, he
played Ben on Ana.
wasn't coming to work, was he?
I actually don't remember exactly.
Were you losing too much?
It was definitely because we were
Sorry,
losing
guys.
or mad at Donghyun or something. But there was definitely a day like he actually needed to chill, and then I think like Amaze told him just don't come. And then we played Ben on Ana, and then there was like this thing where like I'm pretty sure it was you guys, Max, that were like messing up. Or were we playing against Ben on Ana? And I'm pretty sure he was. But yeah.
It sounds like a lot of these stories start with player X was mad at Donghyun, or player Y was mad at Donghyun. Did Donghyun solve anything, or did he actually make everything worse?
My hypothesis is that if we kept FD for the second half of the season, we actually would have done better. That's my hypothesis. And I feel bad for blaming Donghyun, but at the same time, like if you look at the maps we lost or the matches that we lost in the second half, like we went 0-4 because he was on ping. Like he fucked up. If you look against our match against Shock, he fell off the map because of, like ping or something. It was actually unbelievable. But if we had FD there, like maybe we win, maybe we don't. But it also comes back to everything what you guys were saying when you were talking to Gator. It's like Donghyun's only 17 or maybe 18, but all the Korean players kind of ganged up on him at one point, and he was kind of the punching bag on our team.
Yeah,
For
it
one,
literally happens.
For one that comes to mind for us, or like when I say us, I mean me and Chris and everyone else who was on London at that time, was there was a new Junk City, and I believe for OWCS, GetAmazed had recently introduced a new concept of a team 3 quarters into the season, where sometimes if we have Blade and Beat, we want to use Blade to force their beat, and then use our beat afterwards to then win the fight. You know, trade one ult for one ult, then another ult to win, rather than just use both at the same time. So if we get up the clip, and I think eyes on the Genji here, the Washington Genji Alpha Yi. So the plan is hopefully to Blade, then beat. But Donghyun, he beats at the same time Alpha Yi blades. So Alpha Yi just goes AFK with his beat.
This is a crazy memory. Yeah,
this is a good moment for us.
Because then, so I watched it back and Spark was like, oh, I think the Genji DC'd. So we actually paused because we thought you DC'd and then asked if you had DC'd, which I think probably only made everything worse. Then GetAmazed was like, we actually need a minute, guys. Give us a minute to sort. So we need to sort some things out.
This goes for anyone. Like we've made bullshit excuses. Like we've said, oh, PC not working, something. If you ever see us like pause in a scrim or we're not reading up, we're either reviewing or we're having like a whole like team talk thing. So yeah, I actually do remember. Wow, this brings it back. I do remember this.
Brings back good memories.
Do we continue the scrim?
Yeah, we continue.
Like a 5-minute break, right?
Yeah, there's like if you skip ahead in it, I think we do like get it started eventually. Yeah, because the VOD's still like got an hour or so left, so we crack on with this one.
Okay.
That's good.
Oh, that's an improvement because we've definitely left before.
I kind of like the illusion that Overwatch League teams had about the excuses. You know, mic
It
issue,
was
headset
so
issue,
obvious.
this issue,
Oh,
that issue.
It was
It's so funny
obvious.
because like
Yeah.
every team is so mentally ill, and everyone knows who the like tilters and whatnot are on every
Yeah,
single
you just see
team.
someone just
And
AFKing.
you can literally see it in their gameplay. Like you can see it from the top down who is having a mental breakdown, and then they'll start standing still. The pause will come out, and it's like, oh, sorry, mic issue. It's like, no, it's fucking not. Like
Yeah.
people should have just been like, no, sorry, Alfie is having a
Teru's-
mental breakdown right now. You know, oh, Teru, he's got his figure on the dead man switch right now. It's actually ridiculous the amount of lying that everyone did to one another just to pretend that there was.
You remember when you were 12 years old and you used to like lie to your parents about like the reason you didn't do your homework and you thought you were a fucking genius, and you look back on it now and it's like there's literally no way my mum is stupid enough to believe any of the bullshit I was telling her. It's the same thing. It always happens in scrims where it's like, oh yeah, we have a headset issue, and it's like presumably the same headset issue that's making your player stand still every time your Winston dies, right? Like when it's 4v5 but your players are standing still, that must be a headset issue too, right? And it is. It's like there's actually nothing more funny because I guarantee if on that VOD that we linked, if you listen to our comms, we're all just fucking pissing ourselves laughing.
Yeah,
It's actually the greatest feeling in Overwatch is making the other team like rage quit or like watch them mental breakdown.
Nah, the 100. We've used that one 100%. Oh my god.
How common would you say it is or was on Washington? Like,
Weekly?
what are we talking? Like weekly, monthly, daily?
Bi-weekly.
I think every 2 weeks.
And that's like a
every 2
fortnightly
weeks.
breakdown.
Yeah, but like honestly, in the beginning of the season it was good, but like obviously when you're winning, like
Yeah, it's
none of
amazing,
that.
yeah.
None of
It's
that.
weird that.
Yeah.
It's actually the number one cure to mental health is just to win all of your stuff all the time, and you'll never have
It
a
really
problem.
is.
Hmm.
I think it was also good with people that came late to scrims, you know, because like Gladiators was one of those teams that was like terminally late to every single scrim always. And like some people like Shock, they would be late all the time, but they would always have some ridiculous fucking reason, some really like
It's always their
elaborate
food, right?
excuse as to why they were late.
Dinner
Yeah,
was
always
always late.
food with
Always
Shock.
their dinner.
And but Shock are so fucking stupid, like these guys, because you know what they did to Shock. If you're listening to this, Shock, you're so fucking stupid. It's unbelievable. Because this is what they do in Korean. They would never book the hour. But like normally teams would book 2 hour block, 1 hour break, 2 hours, right? But Shock always wanted to do this 4 hour block with no break in the middle. But they also wanted to fucking eat in the middle of it. And obviously, it's really hard to eat and fucking scrim. So Shock would like force you to book this like shitty block where neither team got a break, and then just arrive 15 minutes late to your scrim because their food was delayed. And it's like, why don't you just fucking book the hour break like every other team on the fucking planet, and then this problem doesn't exist? So yeah, fuck you, Shock, for that.
Yeah.
Well, they paid for it
wanted-
ultimately with their final season.
Yeah, that's it. That's why we knocked them out. That's how I motivated the boys. I said, make sure you send these food eating 15-minute break late fuckers home. And that's what happened.
Those are your exact words, actually.
It was, yeah.
You get what you deserve at the end of the day.
That's it. It's a meritocracy, the Overwatch League.
Oh, yep. All those people that think they were robbed of jobs, delusional.
Absolutely.
I kind of felt bad for Donghyun because I don't know if anyone like this has been said or whatever, but Donghyun had to like pay for his own visa and like flights to come to Washington. So that was like that was
like,
pretty bad.
How much is a visa? 15K?
No, not 15K. No,
Sure. Is it not?
No, it's
No.
not that much. It's
For
like maybe
P1?
1500.
Oh,
Yeah, around 1.5K or something like that.
Oh.
Like that was the only way we were able to get him. So
Just someone
that
convince you
was
to pay 15k, Chris.
dude, I swear I've been told by Overwatch
No,
League
it's probably, like,
paid like
premium
20K
processing.
per
It might have
visa.
been like our team budget or something. You know what I mean? Like a
I've
team
been-
budget when you include like lawyer fees and all of this stuff and the people you hire to get your application. With all of that plus the fee, a team you might spend like 15k maybe.
I think like they would pay for expedited processing, which is very expensive, and you'd have to pay your esports lawyer. You have to pay the esports tax on top of the regular lawyer tax for that. So there's definitely like fees that get rolled into it and make it a little more expensive.
yeah,
But 15 sounds really high.
I
15
don't
sounds
know
like
why.
you fell for a call center scammer on the phone.
Fuck, I'm gonna ask for my money back for my visa.
How could they possibly make Donghyun pay for this stuff
Yeah,
by
it's
himself?
so
What's the
bad.
It's
shot?
outrageous.
Yeah, that's like I felt really bad for him because he wants to join Overwatch League, but the only way he joins Overwatch League if he pays this money out of his pocket, and then at the end of the season he's barely making a net positive. But I don't know. Our org had like a couple of things like that. Like there was even one time like Alfie wanted like a Coke, like he would want to take a Coke from the thing, but it was for like the watch parties or something. So like the managers or something got really mad at him. He wasn't allowed to take a Coke. So that was one time. And then like one of the other things is like in our contracts or whatever, like they would say, "Oh, you only start getting paid 30 days before the season start." So like our original team was signed January or something like that. So we had like 2 months of just not getting paid, and then once season starts in like March or Pro-Am or whatever, that's when the payment actually starts, which was kind of fucked up.
Did you get more
Especially for
once
me
you
and
started
GetAmazed,
getting
yeah.
paid to like make up for it? So it was still a 50k contract or whatever.
No.
No, they just cut
No,
off.
you
they just cut
start
It's the same
getting
what
paid.
Valiant did too, where they just 50k
Only
contract,
paid.
but it's only 6 months. It's 25k. And it's exactly
Yeah.
what you're saying with Donghyun. Is like it's one of the like it's what we spoke about with Hook on the Punk episode. But these kids, their entire fucking dream is to play in the Overwatch League, and you can
desperate.
you can bend these kids over any way you want, and they'll fucking sign it. Like there's nothing you can do. Like and
No
that's
way
what
we
they'll
get
do.
monetized on that title.
It's fucking horrendous, really, because they just
It's
they'll sign
exploitation.
anything. It is ultimately like you're paying them like a you want to. Did you say you had to pay for his flight too?
Yeah, you have to pay for his own flight, and then, dude, I could talk about how like my own salary. Like, I went from Atlanta on like 70K, which was really fucking good in my opinion. Like that's crazy. I mean, minus
really
housing,
good for
but
an
still,
assistant
that's a
coach.
really good
It's-
salary.
yeah.
Then I go to Washington on 30K, which is like, oh, I can work at fucking McDonald's or whatever.
But
At
it
the
must
same
be
time,
below
it's fucking
minimum wage,
esports.
right?
Yeah, it's below minimum wage, but I was given the opportunity, I had to take it, and I could stay in school
Well,
at
that's
the
it.
same
Yeah,
time. So.
Because a lot of the stuff we've talked about, because obviously we did talk about maybe Donghyun was the problem, but also all these games he's just playing on 200 ping. That's not his fault, right? It's just really fucking hard to play Prig on that ping, and not having a translator and stuff. But some of these things just fall back on the org, no? Like we want you to sign Korean players so we can have the talent. Oh, can we get a translator? No, we can't. And that's not happening. We're saving money in all these ways, and we're just causing and putting stress on all the players and all the staff instead.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like another one of my recaps. Donghyun joined, had to pay, let's say, about 5k for his visa and flight.
No,
and all
not
this other
5K.
stuff to
I
come
would say
over.
like 2.5K, 2K.
Okay, 2.5k. Played for 2 months on ping at like 4 a.m. Got bullied by all of his teammates. Lost every game, and then immediately got fired.
The dream,
Overwatch League.
basically. Yeah, no.
Nice. Fucking
Still made
yeah,
it.
dude. Like I feel bad for him. Like he's a good kid. Like he was still like super young. Like he knows English too. Like he's moved from like Korea and Netherlands. Like he's lived fucking everywhere. Like he's had a hard life, but I don't know. That shit was like pretty fucked up to me.
At least Washington made it better, I suppose.
I mean, I don't know.
I feel like by the final year, the league had kind of gotten to the point where the fact that teams could do that just meant that it was like 100 million trillion % over. You know, like just a bunch of people getting absolutely fucking exploited by their contracts. You know, this guy is basically working for free because he wants to be in the Overwatch League so badly. You know, it's like the worst financial decision making of all time. But you know, he's just in too deep at that point.
Yeah, I never realized like how bad like some of these teams had it. Like on Atlanta, like Unter definitely knows. If we were fucking blessed, like you have Brad with fucking big bucks, you have everyone with the big bucks. Just Hawaii ticket here, high salary here, free food, whatever. But like when I got onto Washington, it was like my first like time I realized like these guys are paying out of their own pocket for all their food and everything. They're all on minimum contracts. Like it's really hard to like play and focus when it's like, oh, am I really doing this for like this much like net positive? Like, yeah, it was really hard on all the players, I think.
It's the one thing like with London is like they never paid us like a massive salary, but they were super professional. Like you never had to worry about like food, housing, flights. Like they looked after you like you genuinely felt like you were taken care of. And you would hear stories about these teams on these like bigger contracts, and it'd be like, yeah, but you know what? Like I can't say a bad thing about Cloud9 in terms of the way that they ran the operation. Like the same with Jack, the same with Nuki. Like it was like a genuine professional like thing. To be honest, same with Philly. They were super good with everything. But then it's like you hear these horror stories from these Bostons, these Washingtons, and it's like, fuck, the difference between playing for one of the proper orgs and one of the orgs which is just in it to fuck you. It's ridiculous.
Well, the irony of this whole thing is one of the big things they tried to have as a selling point behind the Overwatch League when it first started was how it would be minimum salary, all these things would be guaranteed, and all the players would be looked after and protected. But then sort of year after year, everything's just sort of chipped away once everything starts going. It's easy to do that at the start when you've got infinite money, but as soon as the money gets a little bit tighter, looking after the players, looking after the staff, one of the first things to go out of the window, really.
Well, probably the reason is because these teams were contractually obliged to have a team. So they said, well, you've got to do this and you've got to do this or Blizzard will sue you. So they just said, well, fuck it. We'll just do the absolute bare minimum, you know? Like, in a way, if these teams were allowed to leave in some way, then Washington would have just fucking headed for the door, right?
Yeah, that's what they wanted to do the year before. Like, that's when they sold Vigilante, Mag, everyone. Yeah, exactly. They just wanted to get out.
That's it. But then when you get like Valiant, I think hopefully one day we'll get like a Valiant player on or we'll hear those stories. But it's the same thing. It's like, 25, well, it's 50k salary, but we're only going to pay you for the months that you play. We're not going to do anything else for you. We're just going to do the absolute fucking bare minimum. And especially with like fucking, you know, the economy and inflation these days, you know, like these like fucking like 50k salaries which get cut to 30k. It's fucking peanuts, you know.
When you're paying your own accommodation and stuff, like, I think that's one thing that you really miss out on for some of these orgs. That as soon as they turn you remote, you actually miss out on so much. Like, it's such a great opportunity to have all your food and housing covered, and you'll never get that in any other job or industry ever again. And it's a great way to actually turn it, even if you're on Cloud9, we weren't on crazy salaries or anything, but it meant all that money we were actually getting, lots of it would actually just be money they can put into saving something or building up some kind of like insurance policy if the league was to ever end and go tits up and keep them going for a while.
Yeah.
I guess another big thing we've maybe skipped over on Washington is there was all this internal drama, all these big problems, and then GetAmazed's solution to this was mainly confectionery based.
I wonder what you got at the start. Yeah,
here's the payoff, guys. Here it is. It's funny now.
Intro again now. But yeah, so the joke is that every time something would go bad, GetAmazed would get cookies, get donuts, get ice cream. What were some of the best snacks you got? Was it possible that it actually made more sense to throw the scrims to get the snacks?
Well, the unfortunate thing here is that I was actually never in the actual Washington facility, so I wouldn't know. And then, funny enough, I paid for my own ticket to Washington. I stayed there for like 2 weeks or whatever, sleeping on GetAmazed's couch. Just fun. But one of the times, like, we went to get, oh my God, I don't know what it. He's like smoothies or something. I don't know. That was one of the things that was nice, but that's definitely a strat that GetAmazed employed. We would all go out to get food and whatever. I don't know if it was good or not.
He would pay for it?
Yeah, he would pay for it out of his own pocket. Yeah. He would always go get match day snacks, you know, the classics, energy drink, chocolates.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah. It's so shit that the coaches and stuff have to do that. It really is like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think it helped? Did it actually help repair the bridges between France and Korea?
I mean, you saw Tara's tweet, no? I think, yeah, it did.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than
we used to joke on it, you know, in scrims when Donghoon would drop one of his signature beats, it would be,
it's like an ice cream in a second. Yeah.
Like, you get ice cream.
I'm pretty hungry. I might just Ajax this one.
The ice cream place next to the Washington facility is actually very good. So I'll give
he was dropping them with purpose? Like he knew what he was doing?
Dude, there's like a whole like video of Alpha E like going there once. Like,
I think I remember this. Is it one of those where you do the ice cream and you can put your own toppings on it?
Yeah, I think so.
Is it possible that the Washington owners had stocks in this ice cream shop and intentionally
No.
built a roster which would combust with an intention to make
the
a
owners
side
are all
profit?
like tennis people.
Are you
Is it
sure,
possible? Is it possible GetAmazed actually was making commission on all these ice cream
Ooh,
trips when he
is
took
that
them,
possible?
and that was brought into his contract, and it's some kind of inside job here. I think this is all really
No.
possible.
I
Not
believe
possible
it.
at all.
I believe it. Was there any other good rage quit or like juicy argument stories that we had? I remember there was one really famous one between. Did you know? By the way, okay, here's a question. You coach
What?
Mirror. Did you know that this fucker leaks all of your scrims for his friends 24/7?
I mean, I get all the leaks back too, so.
Oh, you don't
Yeah,
understand.
Mirror's no, I know he streams whatever in the Discords, but you know.
Yeah, because
he's
I've
known.
seen new. Yeah, okay. Just thought I'd let you know that in case, because I've got loads of your VODs on my PC.
Yeah, I watched like
Mirror
5 of your scrims last season, I think.
We've probably all seen more
Like
Washington
actual
Justice scrims than
VODs,
J-Mac did.
like full
Yes, dude.
links.
Yeah, like the
Yes,
whole
dude.
VOD.
He didn't
Dude,
know.
oh,
he
Oh, I
didn't
thought.
know.
Okay,
Like,
that
no,
I
this
actually
is
didn't
what
know. I thought you
yeah,
were
this is
talking
what I
about
mean. No,
Discord
no.
screen share. Like that.
No,
That's
no,
like a
no,
classic.
no.
No,
Right.
he'll send the VOD to try and prove a point.
Yeah, this is the one. This is the really famous one. So there was a really famous one on Eichenwald defense, okay? And you just attacked or defended. And BenBest and Mirror were having an argument about where they should hold. Like, should BenBest hold on the left or on the right? I think BenBest was playing
okay.
Arista.
This sounds
And-
familiar. Okay.
And they have this massive fucking argument where they like explain it. And BenBest is actually quite reasonable in this situation. And then like he says, no, I really want to play left because I think my angle's here. And then Mirror says, no, you need to hold right because like you need to block this. And it was like an actual Overwatch discussion. And BenBest refuses to see it Mirror's way, maybe reasonably. So Mirror slams his fucking desk and says, cancel the scrim, I'm not playing. And then Mirror rage quits the scrim. But what was so good about this moment was Mirror, who, in my opinion, was clearly the unreasonable one. A, because he was probably, I don't know if he was wrong in the argument, he was unreasonable. But then he leaked his fucking VOD to everybody else in the
How did that come to you?
Mirror gave it to us.
Everyone
Mirror gave it
dude.
to us.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
Mirror
Okay,
fucking
I
leaks it.
actually did not know that happened. I did not know that happened.
Yeah, dude.
That's
yeah,
kinda
so
fucked up.
that's it. And then that was the funniest thing was like he was like the fucking child rage quitting scrims, and he thought I'll show my friends about how fucking unreasonable BenBest like anyone would watch this clip and think, good for you, Mirror. You show him, you know.
God.
So
I thought you were just talking about like the classic,
Yeah.
like Discord screen share, get on a call.
no comms.
No.
Every time I get a VOD from a player, it's so good. I watch it all and I listen to how all the coaching does. So I had loads of
Really?
like, Washington
The one-
stuff. Yeah.
Because we used to get all the Titans
And it wasn't like I
ones.
traded for it. Yeah, Titans were so bad for it. So bad for it too. When they were really bad, they would like. That's why you remember this super fucking deep A clip, which is no good movement. That was fucking shared around.
the Junkertown, the Junkertown.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that one.
Good fucking
I know that
movement.
one.
But that gets spread around. So I watched that whole 2-hour VOD, and like that's it. So that's it. If I don't know, maybe my players have done it, but if I ever found out my players were fucking leaking the bad moments and sending full VODs to people, I would fucking drive me insane.
I mean, you know what happened to the one VOD that got leaked.
Yeah, but in fairness,
comment.
that was, I mean, A, obviously no comment, but B, that was
Yeah.
accidental, I think. That was just Hattie being like an outrageous client.
It was just like massive incompetence. Yeah, it was like innocent incompetence.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to talk about the VOD leaks, like, dude, I'm gonna be honest, like our team used a lot of VOD leaks. Like we've made some exchanges with a lot of people,
Dude,
comps, everything. Like if you ever see a match where like I think it was against Toronto, like Hydron would literally roll out on Soldier, we would just one shot him. I actually felt bad for Hydron at that point, but yeah, that was pretty funny. Like the VOD leaking was actually crazy. Like in that whole
it was
season.
just like super common. And
Like-
I swear, Danny, it was you at some point earlier in the season when I tiptoed to ask you some stuff. You were like, "Oh, I never do that." And I
Just
was like,
lying, are we,
"No way,
Daniel?
this guy's telling
Just
the truth."
lying.
Yeah, he did. He was
Okay.
like, "Oh, I never do
No,
that," and I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "But maybe I'll make an exception for you this one time." I was like, "Oh yeah, fucking."
That's
good,
how
man."
that's how I improve the juice. But of course, I mean it's pretty obvious like who leaks to whoever's friends, whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, it was every single team in the league did every single week. Because if you didn't, you were just at like an unbelievable disadvantage. And there was, if you could find a way to not let it happen, it would be good. But it's just part of the game, unfortunately.
Yep.
I think there's no way to stop it, right?
Yeah, literally none, because you're just doing YouTube VODs. Even if they were able to, because Blizzard said, we'll track the code sharing and stuff. So everyone was like always schizo about using codes, but you can't track what someone sends over Discord, or even worse, screen shares over Discord.
The screen share's the other one, right? Like, how do you track that if it's a private screen share and a private call?
Right. Yeah, no way to do it.
The worst one I think I'll say is one time we had a match against Toronto, and like Gator's like messaging me while during the warm up, and then like apparently like Gator's like trolling them or whatever, saying whatever, we're gonna leak your shit, and then like Kasora's like rages at them, don't leak, and then fucking
Did it work?
Majed's like talking to
Motivational
GetAmazed. He's
there.
like, "Yo, Gator's so mad. He knows we're leaking to you." It was actually fucking hilarious. Yeah, that was funny.
Please don't.
I mean, you were so naive. Like you were so naive. If you ever thought those like even I don't know, even sometimes we would book like EU contender scrims because we thought there's no way it gets out. But I guarantee there was still some fucking pathway.
No, I think that's even more dangerous. Like I know we scrimmed one of the might have been Wisp or something, but for a warm up, and our entire thing 100% got leaked to whoever we were playing against.
I mean, to do NA tier 2, it's like a guaranteed leak for sure.
Yeah,
if you had EU, because there were
probably
less
a
Euros
Discord
in the
for
league, it was the EU was like the safe warm up scrim, because then there's not enough connections in the league. The only people that will see your VOD 1-to-1 is London Spitfire, So
then, unless there's something else on this topic, I wanted to ask a question. So this is you had a hypothesis earlier, right? I have a hypothesis. At times, the way GetAmazed operated the team was intelligent enough to try to maintain his position, right? You spoke about this idea of like, oh, why would we sign these Euros? Like, why would we sign these Koreans if we have like a Western coaching staff, right? And one thing I said to Gator was that like I felt like it was inevitable you were going to get fucking Korean mafias because you signed a team full of Koreans and you don't speak Korean. And I felt like maybe that's why like GetAmazed like hedging his bets was like by picking up half of his friends, it made it harder for him to lose his job. Do you think that even when he kicked FD God, it was like a way to, I don't know if pander is the right word, but it's like appease like the growing sentiment on the team so that they wouldn't turn on him?
I would say so, yeah, because I really didn't want any of the Korean players to think that GetAmazed is always defending FD or GetAmazed is always defending Ben Best, because that definitely wasn't happening. Like I've gotten DMs from GetAmazed like, what the fuck is FD doing? Why are we doing this? Why is Ben doing this? Why is Ben getting picked? Whatever. So that definitely wasn't there. I don't know. Like I'm trying to think like if we had a different iteration of the roster, like with like Spectra, like how would our team like end up? I don't really know. Like Spectra is like a really interesting player to me because he's like so like English and Korean. So he's like a really like
English
motivator.
Perfect, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm trying to think how that would have ended up, but I don't know.
Yeah. If you could turn back time now, how would you build the roster?
Wow. Fire me and get a Korean. I know. I actually wow.
Me too.
I'm wondering if Fitz, Spectra, Iris, Ben, FD, how that team would have worked out.
Are you serious? You really?
That has to be worse, right?
You're crazy.
You think that's worse than Alfie Floraterra?
Alfie is so good.
The only thing, I'm not gonna.
Okay,
the only thing that
I agree, but
I was Alfie.
I mean, dude, Alfie is fucking good. 100%.
Like he solo carried your team more than any player 100%. I think I've ever seen a player solo in Overwatch League history.
In history. Whoa. But
really, name me one that carried more than Alfie carried Washington. It was unbelievable this season.
A lip on Sombra both years.
No way. He had way better parts doing lifting outside of his Sombra.
I mean, do you just consider that then? Like,
yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I don't know.
Alfie was actually like doing God's work with robots for support.
Dude, I'm on the fucking team. Of course I know the guy's fucking crazy, but I'm trying to think like if we actually like built like a full like what you guys were talking about earlier about like an environment where it's just like it's more chill. You don't have anyone raging. But I guess maybe you just pin that on. I don't know because it's hard to say.
Fitz might not be the solution if you're looking for a chill environment either.
No, that's the
Dude,
word
Fitz,
on the
Fitz
street
and
is
Ben are
Fitz.
actually really good friends. Like
really?
they've
Yeah,
made
until they scrimmed together and lost a few scrims, then that friendship probably goes away quickly.
even like I think Ben has like a YouTube video with Fitz or something. They always talk.
Ever.
But
Is
I don't know.
is some of it as
Of course,
well
it's
that
different from each scrim.
Barossa just had inherent problems because your EU's best parts are want to play Ryan and they want to play Lucio. But if you start putting Alpha Yi on the heroes that go well with that in terms of like Mayo or something,
Oh yeah,
then
we
immediately
were
you're not
pretty,
getting the value out of Alpha Yi. And really, if you've got Alpha Yi on the team, you've probably got to try and build a roster that suits the heroes he's strong at, right? And can play around him. And that maybe a Lucio and a Ryan player were never going to be those heroes.
Yeah, I mean, we played mostly Ram, and I think something that gets neglected a lot is like how Mir fits in our team, because I think he played really well on like Ram and Junker Queen whenever we played that, and we tried to like stick to that a lot, like a comp where I think that's the comp we ended up against. No, we played Orisa against you guys, but we tried like near the end of the season we just wanted to play like Junker Queen comp, keep Alfie on Genji, just play Genji Lucio style, pocket him, whatever. Try to get Teru on Kiri. And then Mir on Queen. That's probably our best roster. Best heroes, best roster. But then against you guys, we wanted to play Boston comp, so we played Orisa, and then Teru on BAP is a little bit worse. So yeah.
If only you
came
were
close, 2-3. So
yeah, it was pretty close actually until Gibraltar.
yeah, Gibraltar. We've never scrimmed that map. You know, you guys have your classics. So
yeah,
you actually can't beat London on that map. There was nothing you could have done. Once we got map pick on map 5, it was over.
what was?
yeah, I
Oh
think
my
so.
god, I actually don't remember what map 1 and 2 were.
I think maybe you've said this before as well, Chris, but that play-ins game against Washington, in my head, it was straightforward. Like, that's my memory of it.
Easy 3-0, but then in
100%
reality,
was not what happened at all.
Yeah, but I think I swear one of those like those maps we were losing was like, because I'm sure, I don't know, again, maybe it's my head, but I'm sure maps 1 and 2 was super fucking clean and it looked like it was a done deal. And then we just started to like fucking, I don't know, play like fucking idiots until we got to Gibraltar. But I don't know. I kind of like gaslit myself that our playing's journey was just like this smooth run of dominating everybody at every step.
Yeah, you guys won. You guys were like crazy map 5, you know? Like we lost every fucking map 5.
Wasn't Toronto the only free team? Like,
Toronto was actually
Shock too when we played
Oh,
Shock.
yeah.
Shock
Mickey-
were really
Mickey
like
Mouse.
free at the start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We beat you guys on Servasa? Actually, that's unexpected.
I don't know how we lost those games,
Yeah.
but it happened. But we got to play.
Probably coach gap.
Great coach
Yeah,
Cal.
probably a coach gap. Yeah, our videos were clearly better than your videos, I guess, in hindsight. And we didn't even need to bribe our players with ice cream to get free play-ins. So
I mean, to be honest, like near the end of the season, like our environment was really good. I think it was near like the time when we were losing the most, of course. But like the 04, right when Donghun came to Washington, that was definitely the worst part. But near the end, I think we all gathered together. Everyone's just like, "Fuck it, we're in play-ins. Let's just give it all our best."
It's like a last
You guys decide.
yeah.
Yeah.
the league was it was at that
Yeah.
point people already knew it was like the last season, right? So everyone was like, let's just make the most of this
Yeah.
last run.
100%.
So we can maybe move on to talk about some of the other times you've worked with mixed rosters, because you've actually been in the league a very long time.
Yeah.
And
Surprisingly.
you've worked with a lot of mixed rosters before. So how does maybe the experience on Washington and having no translator and all these difficulties that you had compared to some of your earlier times on Atlanta, where
Mhm.
there was a bit more support, a bit more maybe better English understanding with some of the Korean players?
Yeah, so I would say the most fun roster I've ever been on was 2021, and I think a lot of that goes to Hunter, and then it also goes to winning, because winning equals fun. So that goes there. I think also it has to do with just like Hyun and Peli as people. I think it's understated how much like fun they have, and like they're really good with English speaking players. Something that was a little bit interesting is 2019, 2020. We had like Popo, Daco, Erster. Like I don't know if players or people watching this podcast even know about the league before then, but that team, like, I feel like I didn't have a lot of involvement in, so it's kind of difficult to say how the day-to-day was. but we were living in like a crazy mansion. I don't think the environment was too bad, except for the whole like Daco rage quit stories, just random stuff like that. But yeah, I don't
that
think
season there
too
was
bad.
all the stories of like the Atlanta mansion. You know, that's what they always used to tell me. Like,
Atlanta
I had to go for
mansion.
the
I've been
party
there,
at the
yeah.
Atlanta mansion because
Yeah.
because that this is what we said with last week. Yeah, but those first 2 seasons of the Overwatch League, that was just that's what everything was at its best. So I
Dude,
remember
we had
I
a
guess was on your
12-man
like academy
roster.
team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
and you had the big bus.
we had a whole like auto trader, like Mercedes-Benz Sprinter, Atlanta Reign auto trader sponsor. That was sick. And then even in going into like 2020, we had a 12-man roster, which is unheard of. Like that's so much money that's just being spent. And we did shit that season too. Oh, lost the LA Valiant.
Baby Bay was hosting some sort of outrageous party.
Yes, he had the 12 players and like not one flex support. Sorry.
We had Dogman and Kodak as our flex supports, and then we picked up Hyun, we picked up Saucy. Dude, that was unreal. I mean, the one thing I really appreciate about Atlanta is like we would always like try to make moves. Like I don't know if people remember either in 2022 we picked up Vigilante midseason, and in the Ana Zen like Diva meta, like we were actually pretty good because we wanted to compete with Glads and Shock, who had like the best double flex lineups ever. But I think Vigilante was a really good pickup if we were able to incorporate him a little bit more.
Did you know the Baby Bay flashlight story, Danny? Have you heard it?
Yes, I have definitely heard of it. But I don't remember all the details.
Do you want me to tell it, or do you want me?
You can tell it.
Well, the rumors were that I guess everyone had their own room in the Atlanta mansion, but some of them had to share a bathroom. And I think there was a story after one particular night out where Baby Bay must have had a flashlight, but he'd been cleaning it in the bathroom, but it seems like he forgot to take it back to his room. So some of the other players, when they woke up the next day, were confused about why Baby Bay's flashlight was just sitting next to the toothbrushes or something in the bathroom. But that's how you knew it was a party mansion.
Yeah, dude, that mansion was fucking sick. And there was like 3 pools. Like we had a personal chef. Like I went there for like a week or so, and like you just have food spawning in after scrims. Just like, okay. And it's like really high quality food. That was pretty fun. That's the fucking life. And then now I'm just online, you know.
I feel like I remember being told a story as well of maybe Avast told his story from season 1 of Avast was over. I guess it would have been the Shock with Shock then, but Baby Bay comes back to like the Shock apartments or whatever, and he brings a girl back that he'd met at the club. And obviously, this girl has gone back with Baby Bay, not realizing she's going back to a gamer house. She gets to the house, goes in, and obviously there's Avast and a selection of the Shock players, maybe looking like a group of gamers. And the girl just comes in and goes, "Oh, you live with a bunch of fucking nerds." But she didn't leave, so I think it still worked out for Baby Bay and all those involved. So, yeah, the first
was Giga Chad of Overwatch League, like unquestionably lived that life. You know, like it was not fake. Baby Bay was like clubbing all the time. I really was. He was too cool for the Overwatch League, unfortunately.
Yeah, they needed him at Valorant straight away.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys remember Enlayer either, but he was also definitely a party guy when he's on the bench.
Is he the Russian guy?
Yeah, Russian.
Yeah, that's the guy that would just go missing for days on end. No, like he would.
He would just.
He would just go on a bender and he wouldn't come back for like 4 days. Like he was on the bench, so it didn't really matter. And people would be like, "Where is Enlayer?" And it's like, "Oh, who cares? He'll come around."
It's not relevant.
Yeah.
In some ways, it almost makes sense, right? If you're out living in LA, you've got no work to do because you're just fucking benched. You're making way too much money.
Yeah.
It almost seems crazy not to develop some kind of like drug addiction or party lifestyle. Seems like a waste at that age not to do that.
You know,
this isn't official life advice, but
yeah.
How did you then? Because your journey through Atlanta was you started from the bottom, and then you slowly worked your way up. How was it? Sort of coming in and being, because I guess in those early years you would have been the only remote person as well out of all the staff and everything. How was it moving, interacting when you were just the only remote person, probably the youngest person on the team as well, right?
Yeah.
Was it difficult to integrate being the only
Yeah.
person not in the house?
Yeah, it was definitely difficult. And I mean, everyone's fucking partying, whatever. And then like most of the time, like we had like a huge coaching staff at that time. Like it was Kasora, Silence, Brad. They would usually do all the like main team stuff. And if I didn't really have anything to do, I would just do my normal scrim results, whatever. I would help out the academy team, which is like Astro, Gator, Kodak, all of that. But one of the interesting things is like the only time I actually moved out with the team, it was in 2022. And like the 2022 season, which was like we had UV, OG, Speed, Kai, Nero, that team. So I lived in Atlanta there for a year. And to be honest, like that was one of the most like difficult times for me, because for me it was like I had to like become like a leader, and I'm like this young guy. And also like I try to like be friends with like OG, UV, but it felt like they had like their own group already with like all the AT guys. So for me, it was like pretty hard to like find a connection with them. And of course, now I'm still really good friends with them, but I know like earlier on, like I've had problems with them. Like I know at one point I got muted by them, and then I had to ask them to unmute me, and then get a little bullied sometimes. But that entire year was like really difficult for me to like go through to the players and actually like motivate them in person. And I know like Brad gets a lot of flack for that, but it's like it's also on me, it's also on the players, their own like divisions within the team. It was really hard for us to like all become like mates, you know. I wish we spent like more time together to do something. But at the same time, like Atlanta as a city, like there's nothing much to really do. We just play games at office. But I wish like some way like I was able to like foster like better relationships between everyone. So I kind of take the blame with that.
Because at the time, that Atlanta roster actually looked pretty good. Like start of the season with like OG and UV were pretty hotly sought after talents at that point. Hawk, obviously a very respected tank player as well. Kai, Speedily, all players coming in with like pretty big reputations. But I mean, which one? There was one. Was it the mid-season? You had a pretty good run, like the lower bracket run, but the rest was actually
everything fell out after Junker Queen, and then playoffs. Yeah, I feel like us as like a rush team, like our reviews at that time, like were like pretty shit. Like that's on me, that's on Brad, that's on all the players. Like we never really like pushed like pretty hard to like do these like super macro based videos and stuff. Like that was something I try to do a lot more on Washington, is try to do these like super macro focused things, because I think that helped a lot. But on Atlanta, I feel like we didn't have like a really good system. If we were to review something, it would just be like super short, like, oh, these fights we need to do X, Y, Z, and then it would just go one in ear and just out the other. No one would learn anything. Then like even though like everyone spoke English, and then like Venom's English was good enough, it didn't feel very like good. I don't know if that's on there's part blame on the coaches for like the quality of feedback, but there's also part on players like bringing up new ideas, being honest with each other, things like that. But yeah, I feel like that entire year. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Go on. Go on.
Okay, I was gonna say like that entire year, near like the rush meta, is like it became like really hard to just get to, like, for me it felt hard to just get to the players and want to like motivate everyone to, oh, let's focus on this topic and just not care. I feel like everyone had like their own like not really cliques, but like everyone had their like friends. Like Hawk would be friends with like Kai, and then OG and UV would be friends or whatever, and then Nero's was friends with everyone. But everyone after scrims would, oh, the AT players go to Discord, everyone else just goes home. Some people play ranked, whatever, and then Venom's just like the random Korean guy just chilling, doing whatever.
I feel like I get the impression sometimes, I don't know if it's just because I'm looking at it from the outside rather than the inside, but sometimes, especially when I look at maybe like teams, like Counter-Strike teams, I look at them and I see like half of the players are just like 28 to 30-year-olds. They all have like families and their own lives, and they'll still just come to work and do the job, but they'll still have that level of dedication and practice. Whereas I feel like in a lot of Overwatch teams, it's a lot more, I don't call it like vibe orientated. Like if the team is all together and working hard, the team's all together and working hard, there's not maybe the same level of professionalism or discipline, at least as commonplace, where they can be the professional and work hard, but then go live their only life. Now, there certainly are players like that. Like I say, Poco probably fits that category of someone who can really go live his own life, But when he comes back and he scrims, he still puts in the full effort, works as hard as anyone. But I think a lot of the time there's, especially with maybe a lot of the younger players, there's not that same balance between as soon as they feel they're established, they get very complacent or just, I don't know what's the word, revel in their success maybe a bit too much and don't manage to perform to the same standard.
Yeah, what did you guys think like the impression was of our 2022 team? Because I know whenever we would play London, like that was like a little bit of a rivalry match, and then of course we have that one win, the start of 2022 season. You guys win 2-3 against us. That was like a whole Atlanta London
that started
rivalry.
our season, probably boomed yours, and then we had all of our blacklist drama, and then I don't know, my feeling was that you had a bunch of fucking egomaniacs on that team. That was my
belief and understanding.
I spoke about this before, but I always try to hate everyone that I'm against because I don't know, hate motivates me more than love. So, but yeah, I just felt like most of those guys on your team, like I don't know, I just felt like there was like a level of like disrespect sometimes from Atlanta in terms of you've heard the stories of you like guys trolling scrims.
We would troll scrims
or like
all the time.
Rage quit. Yeah, rage quit scrims when you're losing, and I'm like, yeah, okay, then just fuck these kids, you know, like. I'm not like a purist where it's like if you're not professional then I fucking hate you, but to a degree I'm like, yeah, if you kids are getting paid X amount of money then you act like fucking children, then fuck you type thing, you know.
Everyone like the entire Atlanta environment was fucking crazy. Like we would have food covered, everyone's apartments were really nice. We had to pay for it, but we had a really nice facility. Like we would go out for dinners. Like there was really no excuse to put in full effort. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
But I think it's just like, sorry, you can go if you want. I don't
No, finish.
Okay. Like you guys brought on Hydron and talking about like the whole like AT system. Like when the AT players come into Overwatch League, like it was completely different. Like also Nero just came back from Shock, which is like a whole like crusty system. So it's completely different. Like everyone's styles kind of just exploded. It was like hard for me personally to find like a good balance of how to me and Brad how to run the team.
Like even when I was coaching Maryville University recently, I found it very difficult when, you know, Dante clearly had a system from like Junkbuck on Outlaws, and then, you know, some of the guys had like the left right good night team, which they had their own system, and it actually felt really difficult to gel the team in one way. I actually struggled in that job the short time I was there more than any of like my Overwatch League jobs, because even though everyone's American, they all fit the same language and stuff. People are used to doing things a certain way, and I don't know if it's like an American thing or just a human thing, but it felt very difficult to shake some people's like mentalities of how they saw coaching or how they saw the structure or how they like saw how to play the game. And it does feel like, the problem with AT is that they've had these like effective like bad behaviors where they would just troll scrims and win every scrim, and then they get told by all these orgs, "Oh, we fucking love everything about you guys. Like we really want to sign you." And it's no surprise that they kind of end up being like effectively spoiled in terms of they come into the Overwatch League and then they expect to do things like the AT way, and it's like, this is just how you get good at Overwatch, is you just troll scrims, and if you lose, you just rage quit or something, you know.
I think I can't remember who it was exactly, but I remember some of the Toronto people talking about the Toronto version when it was a lot of the AT guys. Now, when they got back together, because they'd all had their seasons on, like, especially like seasons on Shock and different systems, like coming together, and there was then a divide between maybe how the Atlanta players saw the game, how the Shock players saw the game, and they had trouble reconciling all those systems together even then.
Yeah, I think it would have been completely different if all the AT players right out of Contenders, the very first year, they would all just play together instead of the 1 year gap and then they all joined Toronto. I think that would have been really interesting to see, but don't know what happened.
Because also, like the Atlanta Academy guys had a really similar story, right? Like Atlanta Academy was like a young Contenders team that was just like, did you coach Atlanta Academy?
I would go help them. Yeah, whenever I had time. But yeah, Gator, Astro.
Did you, Max, or you nothing to do with that team?
No,
I mean, to be honest, we didn't fucking do much feedback, but yeah,
a
little bit.
Because then obviously that team kind of came into the league, and then I feel like the Atlanta energy always, even before the AT guys, was like you guys were quite confident. You had like loved to like shit talk. You loved like that. I feel like that was like what people saw as like the Atlanta way a lot of the time, like that Gator like Hawk duo when they were like at their best. That felt very kind of similar to AT, but maybe not as extreme. I don't know if you guys would agree.
I kind of get what you're saying. It's like just like a whole team that comes from dominating contenders going into the league. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're happy to like troll and shit talk and not just win scrims, but really rub it in the other team's face and be the like, I guess you'd call it like the heel of contenders.
Yeah.
I think there are like a lot of parallels there, just because like you know that when Atlanta Academy was in contenders, they had like this absolute domination because they were like definitely like probably like top 3 GOATS team in like the whole world. I think that then AT, you know, there's similarities in terms of like the insane domination and then being humbled when they came into the Overwatch League, but maybe for like slightly different reasons, you know. But at the same time, like if meta was right for AT, maybe they would have had like a similarly insane performance, you know. Like if they'd all come together in their first year, Speedly's on Doomfist or Echo in Overwatch 1, something like that, you know. There's a real chance that they could have had like a similar to Atlanta Academy style performance.
Well, how much of AT's dominance were they actually able to just play ball and Echo half the time anyway in all these situations, you know?
I think they were kind of overrated on dive, to be honest. Like I don't think they were ever a really good dive
I think
team.
they played mostly double shield, no? And
yeah, they were good at double
dive.
shield.
Yeah.
When Kaluj was on Sigma and Speedly was on Echo, then they were fucking good. But like that team was super beatable on dive because they didn't have a good tracer player.
I'm pretty sure it was a mess where it was like Bull Sigma they would play in places as well, and it was like it was like Bull Sigma Echo Mercy something.
Yeah.
Is there much more to be said about Atlanta then? I feel like we've sort of covered. Any juice we've missed, Danny?
Any juice have we missed? Oh, I mean, I thought it was just pretty funny that in Hawaii you guys beat us in the first round and then we come back through the losers bracket. Chris, do you remember that what you asked me in Hawaii when we were about to play? You're like, oh, how many maps are you gonna give us? Do you remember that or no?
I don't know. No, I can't remember that. But we were like, I don't know. We were that performance against you guys was like our scrims were so bad, but we played so fucking well on the match day.
Yeah, I was crazy impressed. Like I had a full review.
Yeah, we were so good too, and I was like, oh fuck, maybe we could actually do something at this tournament. And then we got reverse swept, and then here we are.
Yeah, like I remember we were playing against you guys on Lijiang. Like I knew exactly what rotate you were gonna do. We had a contenders team do it for us, dude. That was another thing. Like a lot of the time we would get a team. I think it was like Cloudy or someone to play rush for us. Then we would play against you guys. We would get fucking shit on. So it was like a false confidence kind of thing. Like we would play against rush players that are like not that good at all against dive, and then you guys are scrimming against dive. They're just completely different.
I think you find that because we used to do it sometimes as well, especially in like I remember in British Hurricane we'd do it a lot if we were playing Avoided when they used to play like the fucking Bull Farah comp, and it was like, well, we got to we never scrim against it. Let's get our warm up to play it, and then you play against a Farah who's just fucking shit, so you just kill him all the time, and it's nothing like the actual game will be, and it just ends up being shit practice or like you said, false confidence practice because you think, oh, we can just beat this easily, but you can't if the players are actually good at the heroes they're meant to be good at.
Yeah, that was definitely a big problem against you guys. We would go in with like so much confidence of knowing like, oh, they're gonna do this rotate, we're gonna do this, we're gonna play this comp this way. But then we get into the match, we lose one fight, we're like, oh, that's not what's supposed to happen. We lose one retake, oh, we're fucked. Yeah, that was really hard against you guys.
That's what we do.
I mean, I think it's difficult because like I feel like almost no teams at that level of scripted, you know, like you can maybe predict a rotate that they're going to do here and there, right? But like you can't coach people through a whole game, you know, like there's way too much variability all the time. People do different shit and people do stupid shit and nobody does what they said in review 90% of the time anyway. So it's like, I feel like it's really foolish to think that you've like got a team 100% read by the book. Unless it's Toronto Defiant just not pressing the HK for 3 maps or 4 maps, but that's chill.
Good times.
It's best times.
This leads us on nicely to another player who failed to press H in a map when maybe he really should have. And Danny, you're really gonna have to dig yourself out of this one because if we cast our minds back to the World Cup, and you played Team Great Britain, and you played Cow on Lucio.
Yeah.
On Circuit Royale, despite having what many people would regard as a Lucio player in Magic 8 Ball.
Yeah.
You played Cow on Lucio instead, who managed to get a beat in what has to be record slow time.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you do that?
Okay, so here's a little bit of explanation here. So what the circuit meta is that you would either have double flex or just teams running fucking Lucio Rush. And kind of the idea I had is that I want to have the same 5 people in, just playing either comp, kind of like a Florida style switch between double flex, switch between Lucio. We decided to run the Lucio Rush because it ended up being a little bit better against, like, we were having so much success on circuit. But in hindsight, I'm like thinking to myself now, it's like, why do I expect Cal to be able to like pop off in a match and play the same like he's doing in the scrim? So we probably should have ended up picking Blizzard World. We played good on Blizzard World, but honestly, in scrims, like we were actually doing really good in mirror against Korea and everything. Like we were beating Korea at one point with Sigma Lucio, with Cal and Lucio, and maybe that's just giving us too much false hope.
Yeah.
No.
Everyone who scrimmed Korea came out of it saying, "Oh, we just shit on Korea." Like Korea at the start of that LAN was so bad. Like everyone was beating them.
Yeah, and honestly, like Cal has been practicing Lucio. Like I've had this idea in my head that I didn't want to switch between Cal and Magic a lot of the time. And if Cal's Lucio is like serviceable, maybe I just keep him in, whatever. But in hindsight, maybe it was a mistake. And honestly, like if you watch this match back, it wasn't like too bad because we held you guys on first. We just completely fucked up first point, like the very first hold, because Cal and Noxious, our May, we didn't shoot out backbone on the side at start. So I don't know. It kind of sucked. You also got lucky you picked Ilios, or you got Ilios first. That's all I gotta say.
I understand.
I feel like
But if you guys were gonna play, sorry.
So I feel like people always go through this journey with flex support players where like, oh, maybe if they can just play Lucio as well, and I have a guy who can play the flex support heroes and also play Lucio. I feel like so many times we fall into the trap. Like I feel like we tried it with Landon at one point as well, and it wasn't pretty.
I tried it with Landon once actually. In contenders, didn't go so good. Leadfoot Landon, we used to call him. Oh my god, yeah, and it was fucked, dude. Like, he was really meta, and he just died to every single high noon. It's like he would ult track the high noon, and then he'd just die to it. And it's like, how is this possible? Like, how do you keep doing this? He'd be perfectly safe, and he'd pick the high noon just to die to it. Like, it was unreal. I swear, like Lucio is one of those roles where it's like there are some really high skill players on Lucio, but overall, it's just the most fucking nothing role ever. Like, there's some sort of like mentality that you require for the role where you need to like stop trying to do stuff, because anyone that tries to do stuff on that hero is just permanently throwing the game. There's like 2 people that have like this like level of mechanical competence on Lucio where they can get away with the risk reward profile of the hero, but 90% of people are just, you need to be fucking useless. You need to be useless in the head and in the hands, because if you try to do something with your hands, you're going to die. And almost all flex supports are used to this mentality that you need to actually do something to win the game. You know, like you need to hit your shots and carry and move around and stuff like that. And that's actually completely against the spirit of Lucio. So it really doesn't work for the flex support reroll. I do think Cal, you know, like I bet he baited you really hard too. You would have asked him like, how do you feel about your Lucio? And he would have been like, I'm really good at Lucio. I'm like the same skill.
No, we've definitely scrimmed it like 3, like this was planned. Like, I don't know if you guys had our VODs, but this was planned like two weeks in advance. Like like we were flexing between Lucio, like him switching Lucio and like he even played at one point Samoa or another map on Lucio, but then we ended up switching to Magic. But I don't know. It was just a match day thing. Like I think the match right after this, like we just played Magic because we wanted to switch it up, and it ended up working.
Poor Cal.
Yeah, poor Cal.
Not a lot of wins this year for Cal. Or last year.
Yeah.
No, maybe this is his year.
This is his year.
This is the year of
2024 is
Cal,
the
for
year of
This is
year of the cow.
Year of the Cal. Yeah,
Well, aren't you playing with him, Hunter, on the J3 team?
We got knocked out. It's already over.
Really?
It's not the year of the Cal.
Dude,
It's not the year of the
like tweet or something.
2025 might be good.
Yeah, it could be.
Poor Cal, mate.
So then you get it together. You beat Australia. You get out of groups. You get your match with South Korea, which doesn't go as well as your scrims maybe did at the start. This game is probably best known for being cut off by the Blizzard opening ceremony.
Yes.
Did Blizzard ever come and say anything about this afterwards? Anyone from Blizzard or from Overwatch come and any sort of apology, I guess, would be the thing you'd expect to happen maybe in this scenario.
Yeah, so the only thing I talked to Fernando a little bit about it, and then like Fernando, if people don't know, is the main Overwatch World Cup person.
You're on
I talked to him about it
with him. You and Fernando.
Yeah, I just talked to him a little bit, and then he said, of course, apologize, whatever, but there was really nothing they could do because like the whole like BlizzCon schedule or whatever. And of course it fucking sucked because at the start there was no fans and we literally had to get there at like 8 a.m.
Yeah.
or something crazy if I remember. And our warm-up scrim was 40 minutes max. Like it was terrible. I remember waking up like 6 a.m. on that day. We had to go get our passes. We had to go early. We had to eat the catered breakfast. Like that whole match was like, yeah, I felt really bad for the players because it's their dream to play on stage. Like
Well,
some
for a
of
lot
those
of them,
players
it's
like
their
never
first
played on
big time,
stage.
first time on
Yeah.
a big stage for a lot of them, right? Like maybe like Seeker and Crimzo had like, actually no, probably for Seeker too,
No,
right?
Seeker doesn't even have any experience. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because Valiant obviously never actually got anywhere particularly far. So yeah, it was a real
Yeah.
shame. It was super avoidable, I think, as well in terms of scheduling. If Blizzard had just tried a little bit,
They need more
They
scrim
said
bots.
it
They need
wasn't, though,
to,
but
they need to,
I don't know.
figure out a game that was guaranteed freer. They need to take Team GBR. You know, we would have lost immediately, and then we could
Okay,
have
people say that, but if you look at the scheduling thing, it was all predetermined. Like that's just cap. That's fake news because
Kappa Flapper.
whichever team like lost was in the top of the bracket or whatever would get that match slot. So that's cap. They weren't expecting us to get 3-0'd.
I was expecting it to get 3-0'd.
We were actually so confident because of our scrims against them, but then pull up on sim and then pull up into a match.
Yeah,
I feel like having high confidence going into a game against Korea maybe misplaced.
Okay, not like high confidence, but like we were like happy with how our warm up scrim went. We did pretty good against China. Dude, this is the classic, like me doing good in scrims, like always, and then team just going to fucking shit. Like scrims are just so bait at this point. Like
it's true.
I feel like if you win a scrim, like you need to make sure you actually know why. Like it's just not the other team just fucking giving up and shit, you know.
Like you gotta test the theory, mate. That's what it is, I reckon. I think that you can tell based off
testing
like,
theories.
That's it. Like you can tell if like when we went into Atlanta, like our scrims had been good, but I was really, really confident that we'd fixed the theory to the point where I felt we had a good chance to win, you know? And it was never about the result. It's just whether or not like the actual like concept of what we were going to try and do was going to work or not.
I think there's this weird pattern in scrims where, and I think twice in playoffs and play-ins, we ended up the right side of it, where in a scrim, teams will try two different things and it will work more for one team. And quite often, if that's the last scrim you have before, say, your match against a team, you actually want to be the team on the losing side of that because it means you go and fix all the problems.
Yeah.
So then if you meet in the match, one team has gone and fixed all the problems, whereas the team that won just went, oh, it works. We don't need to worry about that. We've got it in the bag. I think that happened to Atlanta against us. That happened to Toronto against us as well. And both times because we just fucking lost, we went and fixed problems, whereas the other teams just thought they had it in the bag or had a solution that worked.
And the teams leak your VODs too. And you change everything.
I mean, it's the real advantage of being like a cheese comp team, you know? Like you can vary within your style a lot, whereas the teams that are just like grinding out the meta nonstop all the time, you know, like they're really well versed in the intricacies of it. Maybe they're a little bit more used to making like the stylistic adaptations required mid-match. But if you're versus a cheese comp team, then, you know, maybe you're just completely incapable of thinking during the match, you know, like the adaptations come slower.
Yeah, there's definitely an inherent advantage that we have to prep for one type of thing, whereas they have to deal with more things as well. It's just like it's inherently more efficient for us than other teams.
And nobody wants to play the Boston comp for some reason.
Hey, we played it.
Actually, yeah, Titans did as well, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah. I think everyone caught on after.
It comes back to Smurf theory. If you don't have Smurf, we can beat it.
That's true.
Oh, that's right. Actually, yeah.
Fucking Smurf theory.
That's why Falcons are going to win the World Cup.
Do you think if we put Ben Best on Orisa instead of Mira, we would have won? Because he actually could. I
low-key think Ben was. I think Ben was the superior Orisa. You know.
This actually might be a crazy theory, but maybe that actually might be a thing.
He's still. I think Gibraltar, mate.
Was one of Ben's best heroes because
put him on. Yeah.
So I guess we've sort of come full circle, and now we're saying Ben was actually the solution to all of Washington's problems and not an indictment at any point. So now we've reached that conclusion. Is there anything else we have for Danny before we move on to everyone, but the only reason anyone actually fucking turns up
Dude,
to this
it's
thing and the quiz.
Unreal how many comments I see of quiz heads now. I was talking about scrapping it. Everyone loves the quiz now. I've got so many quiz heads. So if you've just skipped to this part of the video, welcome. Welcome to the quiz.
Hello to the quiz heads.
Wait, people just look on the bottom quiz.
Yeah, come to
People-
the quiz.
Yeah.
This is the best part of the quiz.
We get some complaints that there's so much preamble before the quiz. And we should just go straight to the quiz and maybe even extend, like reverse the segment. So it's just like a 3-hour quiz.
Yeah, maybe. I struggled.
Danny
with this
doesn't know
week's
whether
quiz.
to believe us or not.
No, there is quiz heads, dude. It's
Real loads
honestly,
of quiz heads.
I don't know why.
So
But there
the
is.
point of a podcast is a long form audio.
Nope,
It's
wrong.
not like
Nope, it's a quiz.
The point of the
Okay.
podcast is a quiz.
I like to hear.
All right. So this week's quiz, we're going to copy what we did last week with GMs. And I realize we actually haven't ever done this with coaches before. So Danny has a top 5 of all-time great coaches. You guys maybe get 2 lives each. I think you're going to have a much better time of guessing them this time. There's only maybe like 1 or 2 which you would maybe question. Any head coach, any assistant coach. So who wants to go first?
So this is Danny's top 5
This is
of
from,
all
yeah,
time.
in Danny's opinion.
Yeah,
This is his
all time.
opinion.
I
think
you want to
you'll
start
get the,
or?
You'll get the first couple quite easily.
I don't know, like Krusty.
Yeah. Krusty sat in at number 1. Danny says he's the GOAT. Right?
Go on.
Any explanation?
Oh, any
about
thoughts
that?
about that?
yeah.
I mean,
This
okay.
podcast, you know.
Sorry, I blanked out. I thought you guys were going
He's
to.
in quiz mode. He's
Not in.
just questions, answers, questions,
Yeah, I just have
answers.
in my
Keep
head
the quiz
Max
coming.
1, Xavier 0. No, so kind of what I was thinking is that, I mean, if you look at the overall track record, except maybe this very last year, I think Krusty's results are undeniable. And I think his ability to combine teams, whether it's like a new team every year and then controlling mixed rosters as well. Like even going back to 2018 with like Boston and then him coming to the Shock, showing improvement on Shock, then winning the next 2 years after that. I think I valued that a lot, the longevity.
Okay. X?
I feel like especially in recent years, especially Americans have always had like a very like Dallas pilled in their mindset. And I know we did it as well on London in terms of copying stuff Dallas did. So I'm gonna go with Rush.
That was synchronized, Danny. That was good what we did there.
Yeah.
Rush does not make the top 5.
Okay.
He's in 6th
He's a
place,
fraud.
though.
He was in
But-
6th.
Yeah,
Why
maybe Gunba.
no Rush on your top 5? Is he a fraud?
Yeah, I felt like okay, I don't want to expose this, but like or not
Expose it.
it's not
This
it's
is the
not no,
place
it's
to
not
expose
juice.
it.
It's not juice.
Well,
No,
you're
it's
saying
not
it
juice
now.
because it exposes a quiz answer.
Oh.
Oh,
But-
okay. Oh yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's all the hint we need.
Yeah, that's all the
we
hint you need. But
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like if you look at Rush's like success over time, there's one roster in particular. Of course, he did good, but then I feel like him in like a bunch of different metas, like he's only good at Rush, which is ironic. His name is Rush, but I feel like when Dallas had to play in Midseason Madness or even like earlier of the season that they won, like they weren't the best team at all. And I feel like Krusty did a lot better on a whole mix of metas. And other coaches have done better in whole jumble of mixed metas. But Rush, it's only Joker Queen meta and then the Winston Rush meta.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we can just say like 9K, we'll just go for like the super low hanging fruit.
Yeah. Second
Nice.
place to 9K.
Yeah. I chose 9K as second place because I attribute a lot of his success to Paris. And I think a lot of his, like, he's like the super like underground guy that a lot of people don't know about. And I think it kind of goes for the similar reason I said with Krusty is his ability to talk in English and Korean and just convey all the messages. I think it's really good.
Okay.
I feel like Gunba has to be in the top 5 somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gunba in number
Yeah,
4.
Yeah, I have Gunba at
Okay.
number 4. And I chose Gunba number 4 because a lot of people actually don't remember his season 2018, the very first season he was on Valiant, and I think Valiant did really well. And then also you look at like the transformation between 2022 Mayhem and 2023 Mayhem. I think that transformation is like really good. And then also just like his ability to play all these like unique ideas. I think it's something that a lot of other coaches don't do. They just stick to their own thing and something that's comfortable. I think that was really good from Gunba. He was like a leader of the meta.
How do you marry all that with?
But still only 4th place?
4th place, yeah.
How do you marry that with the fact that he tried to get rid of RuPaul and sign Terry?
I mean, he's not scared to
True.
make moves. I mean, I respect
Oh,
it.
it's positive. Okay.
This last spot, it's like, I don't know. I guess I
There's
could just
3
go for like the
2 spots
was that?
left.
There's 3rd and
Oh,
5th
okay.
spot still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe, I don't know, like maybe Junkbuck then, because again, he's like that bilingual
gonna say
kind of
Junk.
vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it right.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Is he 3 or 5
Yeah,
for you?
3.
3. Yeah, I chose
Yeah.
Junkbuck as my number 3. I mean, exact same reasons as Krusty 9K. And then I've never heard anyone say something bad about Junkbuck. And even in like way back Toronto esports, like Nero talked about Junkbuck. I think Junkbuck's pretty good inspiration for me.
All right. Then the
So
5th.
who's for 5th?
Yeah,
Like,
this
is
is
it? So I've lost for quiz at this point, so I'm just
Yeah.
playing
But
for
we're
You're getting
playing
swept, no?
pride. Well, I didn't get nilled, which was
always the
Oh,
goal.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
saved some dignity. I have some more ice cream after this to pick myself back up.
yeah. I could call up a maze.
Is it Chris?
Not Chris. Not Chris.
Is it Nah, it's too brain dead. It's way too brain dead. Is it some like random curveball? Is it like Rascal or something? Like
No.
it's probably Hitler. It's probably like KDG or something.
No, it's
So-
he's in the big 3. Oh, I guess the big 4
3
now.
Hitlers. Oh,
No, not the big 3 Hitlers, the big 4.
There's a 4th one.
Well, Gunba joined remember the original big
Yeah.
3?
wasn't it?
The big 3, Chris is
Moon?
Chris.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
of
Moon.
course. Yeah.
Yeah, I chose Moon as number 5 because I think in APAC, like a lot of us, we're not familiar with like Super APAC, but I think his results are really good. The reason I gave him number 5 was because I think when he was given a less stacked roster and like way less resources, especially this year, like I think he got a bit fraud checked. So
He did.
I think bro was literally just looking out for his boys with that roster, like he was just like, you are my children and we are gonna milk this organization for all it's worth regardless of the pleasure factor. Like the fact that he got DM out of like a 3-year retirement to play flex support, a hard hit scan player, just throw him on flex support, have a crack, and like only when they were getting so violently plowed that then he's like, fuck it, we'll get Iris instead. Goodbye, DM. But he tried to like do his boy the ultimate final service. Like just
yeah, I mean you're not even mentioning flood a tank, so
flank.
So yeah. Moon for being one of the boys.
Yeah.
So, quiz heads, I hope you enjoyed it.
We'll see you next week for
we'll
more
see you
quiz
next week.
action.
I still have one quiz idea which is so unhinged. I feel like I can never do it, but it's going to be so good if I ever get the balls to do it.
Oh wait, I think I know what idea you mean.
Yeah, I feel like if we reach 20k subscribers, then I'll do it.
Patreon members.
You'll blow it all on a big risk.
That's it. Unbelievable, like greatest of all time quiz.
It's actually such a good idea, but it's definitely in the risky category.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. One day I'll bring out the ultimate quiz.
It needs to be a special occasion, I think. It needs to be some sort of occasion.
Uncoachable 100 or something.
Uncoachable 100, fucking hell. Okay, so quiz done. We'll see all our quiz heads for the 4 of you remaining. We're going to do client of the week. So any nominations to kick us off for biggest client so far in the week just gone?
I was going to suggest potentially our friends in the console gaming world. I'm presuming you guys have seen the tweet.
Yeah.
In case you were worried this fire wasn't already ignited enough.
Happy Harv. So he came on and said, firstly, I'd like to say, I swear I was calling him based on the quiz on the episode last week.
We were complimentary about him. We were saying it was,
I said, use those, go get those slurs, girl. I was like on his team.
Call Jay for whatever you want. Who cares?
Yeah, that's it. I was on his team. But I don't know. He then says that we need to to get jobs, which is obviously like, I guess, like,
I mean, that's fair.
Accurate.
It's a fair criticism at this moment in time.
You think he's gonna another screenshot and it's gonna be too like
well, yeah, I don't know. I just felt like, you know, the type of person that spends all day tweeting with an anime profile picture is probably not someone that is like one of the cool kids or should necessarily be like throwing stones in this situation, you know. I just didn't get the impression that this guy roasting us was necessarily, you know, top of the food chain. Because one of my golden rules with social media is if you don't even have a picture of yourself as your profile picture, you're almost certainly
You're
not
at the
worth
bottom of the
listening
food
to.
chain already.
That's it. Because there's no one cool I know that has an anime profile picture. I'll just put it out there, you know. No offense to anime profile pictures, but I'm yet to have
You're alienating the viewers right now.
I mean, listen, if you like anime and you don't come at me, it's no problem. But if we go to someone cool like Baby Bay's Twitter, I guarantee there's no anime profile
Could you imagine
picture
Baby Bay with an anime profile picture?
There's no chance. So yeah, I feel like, you know, this guy spends all day fucking tweeting all day behind his anime profile picture. He should probably, you know, watch out, you know. Yeah, I didn't mean to threaten him necessarily. That wasn't my intention. I'm sorry, Harvey.
Well, yeah, I thought we just had like a good-hearted laugh at it, but I feel like this is a case of like, you know how we maybe sometimes people won't necessarily watch for content, but they'll react to what their concept of the content is. I feel like this is everyone reacting to a picture of a podcast talking about a tweet rather than actually the content of the podcast on the tweet. But it can't be helped, I guess.
Did you guys see Awkward's tweet today?
Oh, that guy's such a fucking client, dude. I feel like it has to be bait. Like, there's no way that shit is real the way that he talks.
What did he say?
I linked it in the chat here. I thought it was one of the most unbelievably client tweets I've ever seen.
Like, Jaden Smith tweet, dude. It's crazy.
We use mirrors to fix our hair, dress well, and make sure we look good. Everyone is using mirrors to observe themselves externally, yet many people struggle to use the mirror to look at themselves internally. Mirrors are a tool for self-reflection.
It's so hard to see my insides in the mirror. Like, I have to really spread my cheeks as wide as possible to stand a chance. You know, it's like really, really challenging. But presumably that's what Awkward means in this situation. That's what he's going for.
I don't understand what the.
Yeah. I feel like this might be a generation. I don't know how many people in our audience actually use Facebook, but it seems like the sort of thing, like the aunt you have on Facebook would post or something, and with like minions around this or something.
That's it. I think, yeah, I can't really see what he's trying to get at here. I don't know if he genuinely looked at this and thought he was being deep, or if, like Unter says, he's just trying to bait engagement by doing something super clienty. So I don't know if he deserves client of the week, because maybe that's what he's going for, you know. We don't want to feed into his client-like behavior.
Yeah, I think the console players are like the clients for sure.
Wait, I've got one more.
Oh yeah,
I've got
there's one more.
Friend of a podcast, Amir, who. So I've talked to Amir before. We talked.
He's got the DM,
and you can see we're just sort of talking. So I was last talking to Amir because he was working for FOG Esports on one of the Saudi teams. So me and Chris were working the analyst desk. So I was quite often in a lot of the coach and players DMs asking for replays after their matches so we could watch it back. So I messaged him and he'd given me some before. And then I messaged him asking for some and he never replied. Whatever, not a big deal. But then that was back in, November? And then he messages me this week to say sorry for not replying. So I'm glad he's come back and said sorry for not replying.
I wonder how he got a hold of the DM like 3 months down the line.
Do you think he's just not checked it? He's got so many messages. He's only just got to this one.
Yeah, maybe there's a job offer coming.
There was nothing else to follow this, if you know what I mean. There was no like.
It takes some time.
I mean, I've also heard that Amir was a little bit upset to have been awarded Client of the Week a week or 2 or 3 or 4 back. So maybe we should double down and give him a second one, you know?
Well, I don't want any more angry DMs from Amir, so I'm actually not voting for him for Client of the Week. You know, I've
You're a
clearly.
coward.
I think we're already in. By the fact that we even brought it up, we've already set in motion the events that we'll get a DM again.
I just hope
You exist
Amir,
in the context of all that came
Yeah.
before.
when we're DMing the next person to complain about being
Did
called a
awkward tweet
client,
that?
Amir, don't DM me. You know, DM one of these two. You know, like these guys are the ones.
DM Danny, I think. Send it
Yeah.
to Danny, and Danny will
think-
sort
I don't
it out
think
for
people
you.
can find my
Do you-
thing, so it's okay. I'm
Do you
hidden.
think Amir
People
is a
think I'm
client,
Danny
Danny?
Lim. What's up?
Do you think Amir is a client? Yes or no?
Yeah, dude. Every time I try to book a scrim with him, like impossible. Like remember that one time you had to like make a group chat and say, "Oh, if we get eliminated or whatever, we have this scrim." Like
I
dude,
did. I made a group chat with both Danny and Amir to book a scrim against whoever was winning, you know. But that's what I said on the podcast last time, and he DM'd me all this shit about how, listen, I'm not a fucking client, but I mean, you know, bygones be bygones.
I mean, I think I've seen like he's like tweeted some like weird comics or something. I don't know. I'm
This is
down to
also
give
an
him a
anime
client.
profile picture, right? On this
Wait, does
DM
he?
right now, this is
Let's see.
anime. It
Oh, hold on,
is.
I've not got it. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Ah, there you go. Yeah. So I don't know. Do you want to give it to Amir or do you want to give it to the console player?
I feel like
I
we've
want to give it to
incited,
him, yeah.
we've incited
Alright.
the Rav.
All right. Sorry, Amir, but you know, is he 2-time?
2-time.
Oh,
Two-time,
let's go.
first two-time client of the week winner
Let's
on
go.
Uncoachable. So
No, wait, wasn't Danny the first 2-time client of the week?
Oh
winner?
yeah, because you won week 1 and 2, Danny.
I won week 2.
Yeah, you remember you won it like 2 times in a row. I can't remember what for.
You went
but-
back to back, I think. You were the first. You went back to back, I feel like.
Hmm.
oh yeah, because you were clowning Rush about the
Yeah,
Yeah,
when it
but
was
what
your
was the
intro.
second one though? What was the second one though?
Probably Cal on Lucio, maybe.
What?
Maybe it was. I don't remember.
Can't remember.
I don't remember either. We're gonna have to search it up.
Is there any honorary mentions you have, Danny? Often we ask you to reflect, ask our guests to reflect back on their time, because sometimes when you live in a house full of gamers or interact with gamers in general, they're not quite fully developed people yet. They don't know how certain things work, like a washing machine or doors or blinds. Anything from your time in Atlanta or Washington where you think this guy is a massive client, he cannot exist in the world by himself?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to give it to Donghan again. I mean, I feel like sometimes, like, sometimes he just doesn't know like how to like order food, or he gets locked out of his apartment or something. But, yeah, I'll give it to Donghan.
it's good that he knew how to pay for his own visa and flights because he wasn't going to get anything else done. The poor guy.
Poor mates.
Poor guy.
All right,
All right, then
Done.
we need to rank
Almost.
the guests. So if we can get the leaderboard up, this will be the first person to enter twice onto our leaderboard.
Can we just do like a Danny squared? I feel like his placement before like is pretty close to his placement now. So like if you just put like like just square the Danny.
I think this one was
This
better.
was better,
I
I
agree with
think.
that.
I think Danny 2 can go above Danny 1,
Okay.
but yeah, maybe one place more up. Better. I thought this one was okay.
Yeah,
quite enjoyed this episode.
I think he beat Astro actually.
Yeah, 7th
think?
place.
But
What do
like
you think?
he didn't come in with his own coaching documents, or at least claims of the existence of coaching documents.
So
So it's
if
hard
we
to
get
put him
Danny
above this
3
size.
on with the documents, then that one can go viral. you know?
Yeah, after the season, maybe on the Patreon we could release the coaching documents.
Oh.
But you have to pay a couple hundred a month to get
Oh,
access to that.
No
So,
problem from me. I'll
This
do
is-
that in a heartbeat.
You're going to become like the Edward Snowden of Overwatch, where you're going to leak all the classified documents, and you're going to have to go into hiding. You're going to have to change your name, your alias. You're going to have to get an anime profile picture to hide yourself.
That's it.
Oh my god, they won't know who I am.
But it'll be worth it to do the right thing. The world needs to know.
They do. I can't wait to see them. I actually would love to read them. I just
They don't. They don't exist,
Oh
man.
my
Like don't take the bait.
They
It's what he tells his boss he's
No.
doing for 4 months while getting paid to do nothing. Like don't take the bait.
No, dude. We need to see
Need to
the
see the
documents. I'm a Casaurus head. I believe there is.
Why don't you just message him yourself?
I can't. That's kind of weird, you know. Like, can I
He
see the
definitely
coaching
watches it.
documents?
He definitely watches the podcast. You could just
Can I see your coaching
Of
documents?
course, everyone watches the podcast, mate. We are the attraction in the Overwatch
Okay.
community. So
Casaurus,
Well,
if
it's
you're
the
watching
quiz.
this,
Everyone watches the quiz.
send me the
Yeah, the
coaching
problem is
documents,
that-
and then
the odds of him getting to this part of the episode are probably quite slim, unfortunately.
all right.
Maybe if we
All
start, the go-to thing would be to start a petition in this situation, right? Some sort of online petition that
Release
the coaching
docs.
document, they should be public knowledge, yeah.
That's it. So,
yeah.
Maybe that's what we can do for episode 100. We get the coaching documents and we do the super quiz, and then it just breaks all the records,
Episode 100.
That's it.
All right, guys. Stay tuned until we get to episode 100 then. Keep it coming.
All right.
But yeah, no, thank you very much, Danny. It's been a pleasure having you on twice.
Yeah.
Only trending upwards, so we'll see you for a 3rd, 4th, 85th time. And good luck on your internship.
Internship.
Get that bag.
Thank you, sir.
Get
Thank you,
that
sir.
bag.